over here from Dolina Pichu Stavopolskich, otherwise known as the Five Ponds Valley, located amongst the majestic peaks of High Tatras, right over here in Poland, right on the border with no Czechia, just Slovakia. We're here today with another very special, very low amount, high sleep deprivation edition of the PondCast number 31. We are coming back at you this week with all the news that has occurred over the past week of StarCraft 2. I'm, of course, your host, as per usual, Yaku of the Zakus. With me today, joined as usual, is El Vigilante de Dramas que atiende a las llamas, Light_VIP. And as always, we are produced by Duchkatovic, Kitore, Gral, I Piezvizgo, Vizmina, Kuro, 16 Squad Senseki. How we all doing?
What's up?
Being very tired.
What's up, Yago? What's up? Yes, the tired edition where none of us has gotten any sleep whatsoever. We're good to go. We're ready for a night of news and a night of StarCraft. As you mentioned, it's great to be back once again. We're regular again. We're regular.
Yeah. We've kept this up, man. We've done this for a bunch of weeks in a row. Forgot how to count. So
it's like 2 weeks
in a row.
2 weeks for sure. Yeah,
So...
let's go.
The hiatus we took was a scheduled hiatus.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't just suddenly go off the air.
You're not wrong. So we have been regular here, keeping everyone up to date with what has been going on in StarCraft. And as you mentioned, there is a lot of news, actually. I feel like last week was a little bit lighter, just mainly tournament results and nothing too major was being announced. But I feel like we have a lot more to delve into here this week.
Yeah. And not just because of a bunch of stuff a bunch of interviews that we didn't cover the last week.
No, that's for next week.
That we're also not going to cover this week. We're going to cover it next week. We swear.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get to it. We swear.
We'll get to it. Yeah. We'll get to the GLA chef interviews for those that are curious. Speaking of, this was not necessarily maybe a little bit of an interview series here, but more of a documentary. Shout out to the StarCraft historian as he did release a nice little video about a Brood War LAN that happened over in Canada, I should say. I would say the Americas. I mean, technically the Americas.
Yeah.
For the love of the game.
He drove there from America, so
he did. For the love of the game, a StarCraft documentary.
Indeed. Specifically, StarCraft 1 and Brood War. It was not quite what I was expecting coming into it. I mean, as the historian mentions in the video itself, Brood War isn't really popular outside of Korea, so I myself had no idea that this was going on. I'm not the biggest, I'm not like the most regular viewer of Brood War to begin with, but yeah, I know when stuff like ASL is going on. I wasn't aware that this was happening, but clearly there's still a very, very, very passionate fan base of non-Korean Brood War fans who literally flew here from around the world to just have a fun LAN event. It was, comparatively in terms of prize pool and stuff like that, a lot smaller than something like an ASL, but yeah, it was just, as the title implies, they came down here just because they love this game so much.
Yeah, it was a really interesting piece, as you mentioned, because it almost felt like it was very impromptu, right? Like he kind of went to this LAN, he found all these people, passionate about the game, and he just kind of got inspired to try to make like a little almost narrative out of it, right? The documentary itself wasn't even really about the event, just about the people there and kind of like their own individual stories that brought them there together.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it felt very impromptu, and it did feel like if we were to contrast this with last week, we were talking about, say, the Panda Mayor Me interview on Sue, where it did feel like that was constructed with kind of a thesis in mind. It did feel more like this was, I'm going to come down, interview a bunch of people, and see if there's something in there that, I can build more of a kind of a flowing narrative from this. And yeah, with that in mind, I think that he absolutely succeeded in that. Just really showcasing how much passion there is for the scene, and it gets a little towards the end of the video as well, I have to say, when he was talking a little bit about about the uncertainty of the future of StarCraft 2 esports as well, and then contrasting it with this event of hyper passionate fans, I have to say I myself felt a little bit hopeful because of that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think it's very relevant to how a lot of people are feeling currently in SC2, especially because, I mean, technically SC2 is a bit of a more newer game here. It's a bit of a newer esport compared to Brood War, of course.
Yeah,
And you can see just so many years later that, you know, these people, they're still very much so passionate about it, and they're willing to invest their time, their energy, they're willing to fly across the world for this event. This was almost kind of like a Home Story Cup-esque tournament. But even then,
mhm,
like, it's different because Home Story Cup has a big legacy behind it. And from my
yeah,
understanding, this is like one of the first
big.
lands of this kind. It was like a bit of a newer thing, but it's still, despite that, people were willing to travel and willing to come together for this.
Yeah, like you were saying, Home Story Cup, it is at this point very established. They have some
Mhm.
big sponsors. They are, I mean, it's a premier event, right? They can afford to fly players down and have a big prize pool and have a lot of, yeah, and also have a, I wouldn't say a huge crowd, but at least a crowd, right,
Mhm.
in the studio to watch the games with them. This, as you mentioned, is pretty much the first of its kind, and literally it happened in a PC cafe or a PC bong that wasn't fully a PC bong. It was like half
Mhm.
PC video games and half board games.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it was like a nice little like
Very small
ga-
scale, very cozy.
yeah, yeah, like a nice like a gaming area, really, sort of thing, like a venue where, yeah, you can come together, play games, play board games as well. And yeah, it was just really inspiring to kind of see this, to hear their tale. You know, a lot of these guys are big fans of like SE2, not just Brood War as well, and they're willing to, you know, come together for this sort of thing. And it definitely, yeah, it
I
definitely is inspiring when it comes to like the potential of, like, you know, what we could still do even with a smaller, even with a bit of a smaller, more tighter community as well. I know a lot of people want to be a little bit doom and gloom, but you know, this, as you mentioned, I think hopeful is the correct word when it comes to this video, when it comes to this documentary.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And one final thing, yeah, if we, yeah, if we're looking to conclude one final thing, I have to say that as somebody who has now played a Brute War,
Oh, true. You're
I'm gonna have to go to the next one.
just in time. Eh? That's why they released the
Yeah,
documentary. They saw you playing brutal, like, yo, we gotta get Yaku in, but we gotta get him in. True, true. Oh my god. But yeah, shout out to StarCraft Historian, and yeah, it was really cool to have seen this come together. I think he himself even said that this is his first of Brood War land, and you know, maybe
hmm
the first of many to come, and I'm sure he's willing to maybe make another video like this for future events. I know he's very much so all about kind of like shedding light on these like community events whenever he can. So yeah, it was really nicely put together.
yeah. And so with that, we recommend everybody to check it out.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Again, it's not too long of a read and too long of a watch even, and it's just a great way to get just the perspective of a bunch of, you know, players and just fans alike of Brood War, of StarCraft. So yeah, definitely do recommend it. With that, that also leads us into our next announcement here. A bit of an announcement that kind of caught me off guard. Of Arrowfire, who has been an active player, but joining a team that has been very inactive for a long time.
Yes, I mean, not just an active player joining an inactive team, having a player join a team. Just in general, I mean, I feel like in the past few weeks, we've just
uh,
week after week after week, we've had we've had uh, Showtime leaving BIG or BIG
mm,
rather disbanding their StarCraft roster. We've had Australia leaving
mhm.
Virtus Pro. We've had all of those like one player
Spirit.
pickups for EWC. Yeah, Spirit leaving Navi, getting
Mhm.
let go of, blah blah blah, and now finally we have we have a sign up
Let's
for
go.
once.
Yeah, yeah, it really came out of left field here. For those who are unfamiliar, Fire, of course, is a very young, very passionate, very talented up and comer, 17-year-old French player, and he has been around for a couple of years. To be fair, he has been a
Mhm.
competitor. Was on Alpha X for a very long time. Then he joined Maturino Esports. And
Yes,
yeah, he out of left field joined Alien Esports.
yeah. I remember he played in a couple of those junior cups that were, of course,
Mhm,
hosted by OSC. A couple of them also hosted by Alpha X, and he
mhm,
won them when he was like 13, 14, something like that. So,
mhm.
yeah, definitely a player who I think a lot of us had our eyes on, kind of seeing his potential, hoping that he would grow, hoping that he could grow into becoming maybe like the next Rainer or next Clem or the Protoss version of Rainer or Clem, or
Mhm.
Max Packs.
Yeah.
Max Packs with a face.
Let's go. Max Facts with a face. That's gonna be his tagline. It's crazy. It's crazy. Uh, but yeah, definitely. I was, if you recall, I was a little bit concerned that he had retired because Fire, after joining Matcherino Esports, which was like around the beginning of 2024, for a couple of months, like after a couple of months, Matcherino Esports had kind of like died off a little bit, and Fire, he stopped competing, he stopped playing, he stopped signing up. He used to be a very active player, then he kind of took some time off. That only lasted a couple of months because towards the tail end of 2024, he started popping up again, started being active again, playing in these online events, and I was like, oh, like it looks like something has caught his motivation again. Clearly motivated enough even now to join a team.
I mean, he's 17 this year.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to guess what it was, I would say he finished high school.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe that was it. Maybe he just had to focus on getting that done. I'm not sure how it works in France, but like
true.
Yeah, usually it's 16 when it's that's the year you have to finish your what's it called, secondary education. Or I mean, it's not the year you have to finish it, but like that's the final year of compulsory education.
Yeah. So I mean, whether it's that or whether it's just Christmas vacation, right? Whether it's the end of year vacation and time off, he's able to once again devote to StarCraft. And yeah, it was really interesting seeing Alien Esports just because they did kind of disband back in 2022. It's been years. It's literally been years since they were really a presence in the scene. They did have a roster. They had a lot of really good players, but yeah, they kind of faded away a little bit. And I don't know where they're back.
Yeah, they had the Mu-Zero on them.
They did.
I always remember him and his cannon rushes.
Good. But I had some of the other heavy hitters that like Milky Cow was on them, like Battle B was on them as well. I think Mino VK for a while, and so we other like European players. So like they had like a proper roster, but it was a little bit more short lived. And yeah, we thought it was just going to be one of the many teams that came and then went, and now they're back again.
Yeah, fingers crossed that they're going to be here for a while this time.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, fingers crossed and best of luck to Fire as he joins this new team.
For sure. This bodes well when it comes to Fire and how active he is and competing in more events and more tournaments. I look forward to seeing his growth as a player because he did shoot up real fast, real quick, and I'm excited to see if he continues that trend and if he's able to be more active and find more success here in these Open Cups and online tournaments coming into the potential Angel Circuit of 2025. We'll get there.
We'll get
Okay.
we have some news-ish about that. I mean, that sounds like a tease. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. But yeah.
For sure. So shout out to Fire and welcome back, Alien Esports.
I will say, don't mind the broken overlay. I will say that I don't want to say owner, but somebody from the team did actually speak on Wikipedia, and they did say that there is actually a clause or whatever, like there is something in the contract about whether or not there will be a circuit. So like they like protected themselves in that way, kind of.
Yeah.
So if there's an announcement that there's not going to be any pro circuit, there's not going to be any major support, then they unfortunately will have to drop the players as it's just not profitable, unfortunately. But maybe this is copium, but I'm glad that there are some teams out there that are at least like, let's take a chance and let's hope that there will be a circuit this year.
Yeah, Navi.
Yeah. Berlin International goddamn Gaming. You've had Showtime for 5 goddamn years. The goddamn commitment they should do, you guys.
No.
I'm not mad.
True.
I understand. It's an understandable business decision. I get it.
Yeah.
It's not personal. It's not personal.
It's very personal.
They do my boy Toby like that.
I know. It feels bad, man. Feels bad. So it's exciting to see, of course, and we'll see what does come of Alien Esports and the circuit of 2025. But that also kind of leads us into something that has been kind of permeating throughout the StarCraft scene recently. It has been discussions regarding Protoss, Protoss kind of, I guess, Protoss dominance, or just the amount of Protoss competitors and competition, and how that has been affecting the online tournament scene.
Yes, indeed. It started off with a little bit of a Reddit thread here on our StarCraft, kind of discussing specifically Hero Marine, speaking about why he used to play in every single ESL Open Cup, and then has kind of taken a step back. And of course, he has mentioned that he is prioritizing his studies quite a bit. But aside from that, a big thing that kind of killed his motivation for playing in ESL Open Cups is just the sheer amount of Protoss. I think he said something along the lines of, why would I play in an ESL Open Cup and play nothing but Protoss and, have to wait potentially half an hour or even an hour for an opponent when I can just ladder and ladder and ladder and get a Protoss opponent in less than a minute, right? So it's... basically, he's mentioning that at this point, for him, ladder is a better practice environment than the Open Cups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that, and it's also a more enjoyable experience. It sounds
True.
like I'm sure I'm sure his opinion would change if there was a little bit more variety, right? When it comes to the competitors, where he would be more incentivized and more willing to play and partake, and that just isn't there in the current climate of StarCraft.
Yep. Yeah, and so this discussion has been going on. Loco has made a video kind of discussing this as well, and I do want to say this is something that Loco also mentioned in the video itself. This is not something that is new. As far back as at least 2021, we've had memes about this. Yes, the ESL Open PvP Cup, or even in our own tournaments, we had the Sparkling PvP Cup, where it was always PvP over and over and over again. This is a problem that's been happening for quite a while, or quote unquote a problem that's been happening for definitely a problem when it comes to viewership. As PvP just isn't super popular, and of course seeing the same matchup over and over and over again gets stale. I do think that the reason why this problem has kind of magnified recently, though, and why this is a bigger problem now, is just because the Open Cups are basically all we have to watch at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you brought up, and I think Kiramarine even said it himself when it comes to the Reddit post. So it's important that not to forget that, because I feel like some people kind of miss that fact, right? That this has been the case for a very long time.
This isn't balance or anything,
Yeah. I mean, or if it is, I mean, it's been the case since like 2020, right? Like as you mentioned, like when we started casting ESL Open Cups, it was the ESL Protoss Cups. Like it was, like it's always been.
Every ESL Asia we casted, we could count on Classic, we could count on Zest, we could count on... I think Hero was still in the military at this point, but we could count on a bunch of Protoss players. Very rarely do we have a reliable Zerg or Terran player.
Yeah, and that is something that has been happening for a very, very long time. And it's a really difficult thing to address. As you mentioned, I think that is a really good thing to point out, that I think a lot of people are now finally kind of discussing it, because it is something that everyone is now watching, and there are more eyes on it, and it's now a little bit more at the forefront of people's attention, more so than before.
Yes. Absolutely. And the reason why we're saying that this is a problem with no solution is just because the unfortunate reality of the situation is, as we just mentioned, the Terran players and the Zerg players, a lot of them, for whatever reason, just don't feel like these weeklies are worth their time. They will play in a big event that has big prize money. That's how we get Maru, and that's how, Innovation, I believe, towards the final years of his career, had said something along the lines of, I will not play in any tournament that has less than like at least $1,000 prize pool or something like that. So having more big tournaments with more prize pool doesn't necessarily incentivize players to play in weekly events, but it does create more tournaments that have more variety, which right now unfortunately is kind of difficult considering the state that we're in.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different things that are occurring here, and a couple of like different problems that are compounding. One, as you mentioned, right, like the best like Zergs don't play in this. We're referring to specifically like Raynor and Serral, right? Raynor and Serral, they don't play in these
played
online.
In one, and I was like, this is way too easy for way too little money. I'm just gonna continue laddering.
Sure. And I think Raynor, he used to play in some ESL Open Cups, not as much
Yep.
as others, but he used to play in like some of them here and there every now and then. But like for the most part, like they're not very active in these online tournament scenes. So because of that, there's less Zerg representation. Likewise, you used to have Dark who'd play in everything, but even nowadays, Dark he's playing less,
Yeah.
because military service is
Certain time
coming
with his
up.
family.
Yeah, exactly. There are other things that are taking his time. So Dark is playing less, and there just isn't as much. There just aren't as many players now to pull from the side of Zerg or even from the side of Terran as well. When it comes to filling up these brackets and filling up these rosters, but that also I would say is that kind of the crux of the issue here is that when it comes to like taking aside like the top of the best players, when we're talking about Raynor and Serral and Rogue and Dark and Solar and these guys, is that the reality is that just underneath them, like your tier 2 players, there is like a sea of Protoss there, right? There's like a sea of Protoss, and they're the ones that are all like competing in everything, of course.
Yeah.
But the reality is that there just aren't as many Terran and Zergs there. There used to be a little bit more, but over the years they have kind of fallen by the wayside. Talking about like Ageddon retired, like Fiant isn't as active, like Mixu, like Control, like your No Money, Shock Ripper, like all the German Terran platoon, like they didn't play anymore, right? Like a lot of them, they've kind of stepped away, and the Protoss have persevered.
Yeah, which I have to say that's what they should do. You're talking about this tier 2 players competing in weekly events like this. That's what they should be doing, right? This is a great way for them to get practice. This is a great way for them to get the name out there, to potentially get a higher profile, maybe get the attention of some team owners if they're interested in picking up a rookie. This is absolutely what they should be doing. So we can't blame them. It's just unfortunate that right now it seems like the only like semi-professional players are Protoss.
Yeah, and that's an issue that I don't think can be tackled anymore, to be honest. Like, because I think this is something that Youth Thermal spoke about. I mean, we even spoke about it when it came to the patch, when it came to addressing Protoss and how you want to buff Protoss but not too much, or you want to, if you remember, we had this discussion during the patch where we wanted to try to buff Protoss in a certain way where you could increase their skill ceiling, but you didn't want to negatively impact the level just below the top level. Yeah, exactly, because there are just so many Protosses there, and it's going to make it even more difficult for the other Zergs and Terrans that are, at that like maybe like top 20 level instead of the top 10 level, right? And that's where there's like this bigger issue here when it comes to like how much more dominant Protoss is.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I'm with you on that. This is a problem that can't really be fixed, but it can be mitigated. Like, you can distract away from this issue if we had more major tournaments that would get the eyes of the top players who aren't Protoss and who aren't Protoss.
Yeah, it's hard to incentivize. I know. We'll be talking about this weekly tournament, but there's a new TKL event, the Monday weeklies, where I think for that tournament, they are intentionally having a bonus prize for Zerg participation. They're like, yo, if you're a Zerg if you play, we'll give you some money just for playing. Just for like playing and placing highly, of course. It's a bonus for the highest placing Zerg player, out of all of them, and like that's. I mean that's
win it every week or laser.
Is better than nothing, right? Like it's better than nothing.
Yeah. At least we get to see them, participate in something.
Exactly.
Instead of just practicing all day for the big tournaments that may or may not happen this year.
Yeah, so there's definitely like maybe some initiative that way, but maybe we can have like a bonus for like other races playing and signing up. Because when it comes to like when it comes to reality here, like again, it's like 80% Protoss in a lot of these tournaments. Like I think there's like a list of like Wikipedia pages for all these events. I mean, we cover them ourselves, but it is very, very Protoss heavy, and there's like a handful of Zergs at a time. The Terran participation is usually a little bit better, but even then, like it's when it comes to viewership and variety, it's not necessarily there.
Yeah, usually it's like for the Protoss players, you'll have like 5 or 6 who play in literally everything, and in fact later on there's one Protoss player who I'm going to be praising quite a bit later on when we get to our events, but yeah, usually there are like 5 or 6 Protoss players who play in everything. You see them every single time, and it's the same ones every time. Every single time, whether it's from Korea or from EU or from NA. And then for the Terran players, it feels like you can pretty reliably get 3 or 4 of them. The problem is, it's never the same ones. Like it feels like there's a rotation. Like for 3 months it's Beyond's shift, and then for the next 3 months it's Kyo's shift, and then for the next 3 months it's Bunny, and then for whatever it is like that, they kind of go on arrows like that, and then for Zerg it's Dark, just Dark.
sure.
Lately Shin has been stepping in to fill those shoes, but usually it's only Dark.
Yeah, and I think the reason why like we want to emphasize that it's like a difficult kind of thing to try to quote unquote solve issue to solve when it comes to injecting like more Terran and Zerg participation is that at this point in the game's life cycle they're just the reality is that a lot of them have since retired, right? Like we kind of mentioned a bunch of like the European Terran players, European Zerg players that have since stepped away from the game. And even if we were to try to buff these races in these areas, like you can't just get players out of nowhere, sort of thing, right? So it's still it's an issue that probably should have had to have been tackled back in like 2020, right? Back many years ago, sort of thing.
Which I gotta say, I find it a little bit confusing that there are that many Protoss players in EU, because the story for so long has been the top player from your region, the race that they play, will have cascading effects and will influence other people in that region to play. That's why there's so many Terran players from Korea, because the early superstars of both StarCraft and StarCraft 2 were Terran. That's why EU in Wings of Liberty and Heart of Swarm had so many Zerg players, because Stefano was winning everything, and then later down the line you have people like Snooch kind of picking up that mantle as well. And then lately it's like the biggest Protoss player from EU is faceless, literally faceless, and yet there are so many Protoss players in that region.
Yeah, for sure. It's I think Lambert made a video about it a couple of days ago, kind of like trying to address this sort of phenomenon. He's been trying to. It's so difficult talking about this without like, especially as a pro player, without like being being just called like a balance whiner or something like that. And I think he did a good job at trying to be as neutral as possible when talking about things. But it's something that even I think Thermal even spoke about it back a couple of months ago as well on Twitter, where it's about. It is about like the skill floor being a little bit easier for one race than the others. Yeah, exactly. Where it's perceived. I say perceived very lightly. That I mean maybe even confirmed that it is a little bit easier for Protoss to get to a certain level and to maintain that, and it's harder to master, of course. Like the ceiling is really high, right? The ceiling is really high, but the floor is lower, and because of that, they can maybe put in maybe not as much like practice or something, but still maintain, and the Terrans and Zergs can't, and then they get disincentivized to like to compete against them, sort of thing.
Yeah, I feel like the skill kind of ceilings or skill relative to difficulty for Protoss is like a pill, where it's like it's not it's kind of straightforward at the start. Like it's not quite like Zerg, where it's like, oh, I only have one building that builds all my units. It's like, if you've played other RTS games, you can kind of get a sense of how the tech tree works, right? But then a little bit above that, and then it's like, oh, I need to really, like, understand timings and builds and how to wall and all that sort of stuff. But then once you get that down, it's really fucking effective once you're able to nail your timings and your storms. You feel unkillable, and then you reach a certain level at, like, the just below the top. But like you said, after that, insanely difficult to break through that and kind of counter what the other races have to counter your abilities, right? Whereas for Terran, it's more like a check mark, where it starts off super simple, super straightforward, but then it just keeps growing the more the higher in skill you get. And then for Zerg, it's I think actually the inverse of Protoss, where like it starts difficult because it's not intuitive at all. I mean, Chad is just saying right here, it's not straightforward. Zerg is not straightforward at all if you've never played the game before. But then once you kind of get the hang of things, it's like, and so it takes a lot to kind of get the hang of things. But once you do, and once you really master how a lot of things work, I mean, once you really master things like vision, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's less intensive compared to Protoss and Terran. Shall I put it that way?
Yeah, I mean, regardless, like it's one of those things where
it's a different skill set, obviously, but
yeah, it's one of those things where currently there's like a bottleneck sort of thing where as you were saying for Protoss, where it's hard to get like insanely good at the very top, but because that there's like so many like just underneath that.
Yeah.
They're all there, and the problem is that like again because there are so many. I mean, even what here Marine's saying, I want to say that like probably a Laser and Lambo have echoed similar thoughts, which is also why they don't compete in those events either, where it's just the motivation to play is not there anymore.
It's
Yeah.
the same every single goddamn week, you know.
For sure.
I just realized I think I revealed my bias with that tangent I just went on. Where I was like, oh yeah, Terran, it's easy to learn but hard to master. But yeah, everybody knew I was biased, so whatever.
Yeah. I would say that for Zerg and Terran, it is a little bit more of a linear like path to go up to increase in skill, which is why there's barely any of them like in these open cups because they're just.
It's either you're absolutely terrible or you're absolutely amazing at Terran and Zerg.
So yeah, and again like it's just it's difficult to
under.
Yeah, it's difficult to address this when it comes to without like obviously like a big like patch, and it's just a really difficult thing to try to approach, especially in the current state of things where like patches are quite limited, and in general like trying to change the game especially that much, it feels a little bit unrealistic right now, without a proper dedicated team working on StarCraft to like monitor and to like test and all that stuff. Like it does feel like an almost insurmountable task when it comes to like trying to address this problem like by adjusting the game.
I hear what you're saying. It's time we bring back David Kim.
True.
We're sorry, Dave.
Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those things where as tournament organizers, it's hard to say what's the best thing that we can do to try to address this outside of course trying to incentivize other races to play as much as they can. But
exactly, outside of dumping money into these tournaments, but of course you reach a point of you very quickly for an online weekly event, you very quickly reach a point of diminishing returns of that. So yeah, hey, we're gonna see a lot more PvP in these weekly tournaments for quite some time. Is I guess my conclusion.
Yeah. I don't think that I've as a caster, and I think as maybe viewers as well, I think we've been relatively safe from that because I think for one thing, the YouTubers are fine because I think even Loco said himself, right, where he's like, well, they pick and choose what they cast. Yeah, they cast from replays and they just pick and choose what they cast, and because that they're able to kind of shield their viewers away from like the problem of purely PvPs in these tournaments. And we're a little bit similar where like whenever we have an event, I always do like either follow a Terran or a Zerg.
The path isn't
gonna
lead into PvP, even though at the end we'll still get a PvP finals.
Yeah.
We can at least for a few beautiful hours savor the non-Protoss matchups.
Yes, that is a very intentional thing that I do. I just seek out the non-PvP section of the bracket, and that's where I focus, and we do well as a result. But yeah, it's like I don't know, it's like we're ignoring the problem sort of thing.
Nope. The way you phrase it just makes me think of that meme, or that meme where it's like the guy shielding the kid. It's like PvP all the time, and it's like casters picking the non-PvP matches, and then the kid is like will be labeled SC2 viewer base or whatever.
And ironically,
I'm too lazy to make that. Somebody make that for me.
That's why we can't. I know, like whenever there's a Sparking Tunic up, like this is a look behind the curtain. That's why we always jump on like Hon Mono at the start, or we jump on like Eba at the start, or we jump on like 3 Point or Nikic or something, because I know that eventually it's gonna be pure PvP, and we try to avoid that as much as possible for as long as we can.
Pro tips for aspiring observers and aspiring casters and aspiring production. This is why you watch your show.
True.
Gotta be ruthless with what you pick at the start, and you gotta be careful as well. You might see, oh, this is a TVZ, and then you look at the path, and it's gonna be nothing but PvP from that point on. Maybe you'll get one TVP or one CVP. After that, it's nothing but PvP.
You gotta think ahead.
You gotta use your brain. That's why I never cast alone. That's why I always have somebody pick the matches for me.
True. So yeah, it's definitely something like, again, a discussion that's been permeating for the past, like, I want to say a couple of weeks at this point, and it's kind of a hard thing to address for sure, and yeah, we'll see if anything comes of it. Best of luck to TKL's event, which we're going to be talking about soon. When it comes to trying to bring attention from other players and other people, it's also a problem as well that there's very little new blood or fresh blood in the scene as well. Especially in Korea, right? Especially in Korea, like if we're losing a player, we're not necessarily going to be able to replace them. So as Dark leaves us, I mean, thankfully for Korea, specific for Dark, we have Rogue stepping in. So we trade
that's where
one
you're
for
going.
another,
Okay.
but it's not like the Zerg player base is
that-
growing; it's staying the same,
that-
which is like
that-
2 or 3.
That's where you're going with that. I thought you were gonna say, thankfully, in the case of Dark, he left his kid behind, so eventually she's gonna become the next big Zerg player.
That's not at all where I was going with that. Not at all.
He's gonna retire, but he had a kid before he retired, so.
There you go. There you go. Solution. So we found the solution. Let's go.
Yeah. Yo, parents, players who are parents and viewers who are parents, get those kids on quick. They don't need piano lessons. They don't need freaking. They don't need enrichment classes. They don't need to go to a room where they get yelled at by tutors every single day for misreading one sentence and mixing up misreading one sentence and then being forced to stand in front of the class and be shamed for the remainder of that class until it's time to go back home after the sun has already gone down. All right, they don't need that. Just gotta get them into StarCraft.
Yaku, do you need to talk
That's
about
fine.
this?
It's fine. It's fine. It was just coincidence. It's just a story. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Purely a hypothetical.
Oh no. Oh no.
Let him learn guitar. That's at least a cool instrument.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, it's one of those things where again it's important to take note that this has been an issue for a very, very long time. It's not necessarily a new issue when it comes to SC2, and we'll see if as a community we're able to find a solution to that, if at all. But that leads us into something that we were alluding to earlier as well. Something that is a little bit hard to hear because I think a lot of us, myself included, especially coming into December, I just assumed that that there's going to be an announcement eventually for this. We're referring to IM Katowice 2025.
Yes, which for the record, for people who maybe only follow StarCraft and don't really follow other esports, it's happening next week. 29th of January is IEM Katowice, and historically, ever since 2014, it's always had StarCraft 2. Ever since 2017, it's always been StarCraft 2 and CSGO. This year, it's only CSGO.
Yeah, and again, IEM is in a week. It's in a couple of weeks. Like it's not too long at all until the event does occur. So if there's no announcement by now, there is no announcement. So there will not be. Yeah, there will not be a StarCraft in IM Katowice for the first time in a very, very long time.
Yeah, 1 week is just nowhere near enough time to invite all the players, make sure to get everything done. I mean, we've had players like Oliveira and like Mio Maika who qualified for IEM in the past, or I think not Oliveira, but like Coffee, or some of the other Chinese players who qualified for IEM in the past, and they qualified like a month or two in advance. But because the visa processes took so goddamn long, they ended up not being able to go there. So 1 week, that's not even enough time for the people living in Poland to clear the schedule.
Yeah. So this is a pretty big blow, I will say, to StarCraft, just because again, IM Katowice has been near and dear to StarCraft for many, many years at this point, since back in Heart of the Swarm, of course, and. Yeah, Kalaris, he of course did kind of like in a way confirm that obviously that he's not going to get a job there or that he's not going to be working there, and he did reveal that as well. And yeah, that's kind of like hitting us here and now, and yeah, that's it definitely doesn't bode well for the future of StarCraft 2. Just because like even if there is going to be an EWC announcement, I think we all just assumed that like IM Katowice was going to be a sure thing, just because it's always been there for so long.
Exactly, it's been there for so long. I mean, I know we're not gonna talk about it until next week, but in one of the Tasteless interviews, he did say that StarCraft, because it's been around for so long, has always held special status amongst the tournament organizers, and it's kind of lost that for a while. Like MLG doesn't really host StarCraft events anymore and stuff like that, but in the past we could always at least count on ESL. And we knew for a fact that we could count on ESL from at least 2020 till 2024.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess now that the deal is up, it's they just. I want to be optimistic and say that there just wasn't enough time to renegotiate some stuff, but at the same time, that as the weeks go by, with just as the weeks of silence kind of pile up, it makes me think worse. Like, it makes me
Yeah.
think that it was more intentional.
Yeah, I mean, as you're saying, right? Like even what I would say, even if EWC is announced and there's going to be a circuit, like the fact that we lost IM Katowice is still pretty huge, right? Like I feel like we
Yeah.
just assumed that ESO would invest into it anyway, right? It's like regardless
And
of whether there was going to be a circuit or not, or
even if it
even
wasn't
as like,
yeah. No, I was gonna say, even if it's not gonna be the World Championship anymore. I mean, in the past,
Mhm.
there have been IM Katowices where we were like, this
Yeah.
is no longer the World Championship. This happened twice
Mhm.
since ESL took over the esports. StarCraft 2 in 2020. It was the same format, the same players, big, slightly reduced prize pool, but it wasn't the World Championship. And then it happened again just last year, where because the Esports World Cup was the World Championship. But despite that, I have to say, I feel like IM Katowice still got better viewership, or still, at least amongst the player base, held a much higher status than the Esports World Cup.
Yeah, especially at the time, just because we didn't know what to expect from it, right? Like we didn't know what to
True,
expect
yeah.
from what the World Finals at Esports World Cup would look like and would entail. And IM has always just had that much prestige for so long, right?
Yeah, and even if they were to say that it's no longer the World Championship, it's the same format, it's the same players.
Yeah.
People are gonna watch that no matter what. They
Mhm.
don't care that they don't really care that much whether or not it's called the World Championship. That's why for a very long time GSL was held in higher prestige than BlizzCon, even though BlizzCon was a World Championship.
Mhm.
It was because all of the top players and all the favorite players were playing in one and not necessarily the other. So it doesn't bode well, like you were saying. This
Yeah.
was without a doubt the biggest StarCraft 2 tournament ever since, I want to say, I feel like it was comparable with BlizzCon and GSL ever since at least 20 early Legacy of the Void,
Mm.
and then obviously after 2019, or maybe even during 2019. I think the consensus amongst the fan base has just been, yes, IEM Katowice is the most prestigious tournament. It's higher than BlizzCon, it's higher than GSL, it's what everybody wants to win.
Yeah, and now we no longer have it. Obviously, there is always a chance that maybe it comes back next year. Like maybe if the deal with EWC goes through, then maybe it returns. As you mentioned, just as an event, less so as a world championship. But yeah, it isn't even just the fact that there is no IM Katowice, is that there was no announcement that there was no
They
IM
didn't confirm
Katowice.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
They
It's
just
just
silently let it go.
yeah, exactly. That's I think that's like the biggest red flag, is that it was just like a it was just kind of like brush under the rug sort of thing, right? Where it's like, oh,
Exactly, yeah.
that don't pay attention here. It's not happening, and
Yeah.
it's just not happening. It's like guys, but you're not gonna let us know. You're not gonna talk to us. You're not gonna communicate.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of weird. Like even if you're like in communications with EWC, like it'd be good to let us know, like officially. And then there was no official announcement.
Yeah.
I want to say, I feel like that's the biggest problem of the entire situation right now. It's like people don't even, I won't say don't care, but like it's not even whether there is a circle or not. Like people would like to know something, like anything to go off, because it's extremely difficult to plan anything like one way or another if you don't have it. Like even as a tournament organizer, like people don't know how far they can plan tournaments, because then suddenly
Exactly.
something gets announced and they no longer have a schedule. So it's either way, like people would just like to know anything at this point.
Yeah. So really doesn't bode well. It doesn't give us a lot of confidence in ESL moving forward. But we can only just wait and hope and wait for an announcement regarding the future of StarCraft, and we're just kind of still waiting for that. We expected it in January. We're nearing the end of January. Still nothing has been said. Still nothing to hear. We'll see.
It, yeah. This is a bit of a side note, but and other people who are more familiar can definitely fill me in on this as well. But I'm just looking at the history of the Intel Extreme Masters events, and looking at 2025, it looks like the only thing confirmed is CS:GO,
Mhm.
which is kind of interesting to me. Like a couple, like years ago, they had like League of Legends. They had, I mean, technically ESL is still doing ESL ones for
True.
Dota 2, which is under ESL, but it's not an IEM. But it's like, yeah, I don't know what it is, but after a while, like esports, IEM has had fewer and fewer esports titles ever since 2017. It was just StarCraft and CS:GO, and it looks like this year it's just going to be CS:GO.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that a big part of that is probably because of EWC, right? I think we spoke about it where the Esports World Cup, they want to like absorb like as much as they can when it comes to tournaments, when it comes to like circuits for other esports. Like they want to be like the monopoly. So that does kind of line up with what's happening there.
True.
But you know, is StarCraft going to be a part of that? Like that's what we're still waiting for.
That's fair. It's also a very I don't want to say it's weird because obviously that has happened in conventional sports. You know, if you look at things like the EPL or the NBA or stuff like that, it has been the case where you had a lot of local or regional kind of tournaments get really big, and then later on a big and even larger organization absorbed all of it and was like, you're all under our circuit. You know, we're not necessarily willing to give you that much autonomy, but we are going to allow you to franchise, or so to speak. But I'm just kind of unused to it in esports specifically, just because of like for years and years and years, it's been whenever we have a big global circuit, we coordinate with the regional tournaments. We coordinate with them and we're like, hey, can we set something up? Can we make it so that whoever wins your tournament qualifies for our bigger tournament, so on and so forth. If you look at like say Dota 2's international, or I mean or StarCraft 2, StarCraft 2's Pro Tour, or even WCS, it was not so much WCS because I feel like WCS kind of was built from the ground up, but in 2021, I think, of the ESL Pro Tour, ESL contacted Dennis, Tick TV, and was like, hey, do you want to bring Home Story Cup as part of the Pro Tour? They contacted Team Liquid, and I was like, hey, do you want to bring Team Liquid Star League under the Pro Tour? And that's how it's traditionally been done in esports. So
yeah, I mean,
it weirds me out a little bit having the Esports World Cup come in and be like, we're absorbing all of you.
I think that's maybe more applicable to other esports because, as you mentioned, SE2 used to be like that, where there were all these different organizers and different tournaments, and some of them would work together, some of them would not. You know, we used to have like DreamHacks and Aces ROGs and Gfinities and your IEMs and your WCS Premier League, and Home Story Cups, and that has it has mainly just been EPT now. Like, cause as you mentioned, like back in like 2020, like, oh, we had like a partnership with like TSL, right, with Team Liquid Star League and with Home Story Cup. That isn't a thing anymore though. Like for a long time, for I want to say a couple of years now, like Home Story Cup, they kind of gave up on that. And likewise, it hasn't been a TSL in a while. So like it's just been ESL Pro Tour events, really. Like, sure, there's still Home Story Cups, but there's not that partnership anymore. So I think SE2 has already been working in that direction, where it's just kind of like a monopoly over those big events. So for me at least, it doesn't feel like as stark, but I do 100% agree that for other esports, I'm sure it's more jarring.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I think that's just going to be the future of esports going forward, for all of them going forward. So yeah, might as well get used to it now.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we'll see if when announcement does arise. I'm sure there is going to be one. When though, now we push it back to February. We'll see. Of course, in that interim, we're going to be hosting over Open Cups as we extend the off season of EPT. You can count on that. And speaking of the off-season of EPT or other events that are occurring, shout out to, of course, Star Zagora, we were kind of curious about the state of this event because, as you brought up last time, when we announced that, or when it was announced that Oliveira had retired, Oliveira, he was invited into the next Star Zagora, and it was kind of a question mark as to what would occur with that invited slot.
Oh, right. It's the event is called Stara Zagora. It's the team is called Bellum Zagora. I get it. Yeah, Stara Zagora.
No.
A big Bulgarian.
Hold on, Echo. It is Bellum Gens Elite. That's the organization, and Stara Zagora is the place. That's the city, I guess, that the venue is at. There you go. Okay. So here's the thing. I do not speak Bulgarian, so this is a huge disclaimer. I do not speak Bulgarian. But to me, as a Polish person, Stara Zagora sounds like something like Old Mountain. So there you go.
So you're saying that I just combined the name of the organizer and the event in my head this entire time? It's
Yes.
Bellum Gens, and then the event is and nobody corrected me. I've been
I
calling
mean-
it Bellum Zagora this entire time.
To be fair, that is the
No,
we say I am Katowice. We say I am Katowice. Okay, it's I am. It's
True.
at Katowice. It's fine. Bellum
Good.
Gens Elite Star Zagora. It's the
Okay.
event and the name of where it is. Like it's normal. It's fine. It's okay, Yaku. It's okay.
Okay.
You're good. You're
Is
good.
I am the organizer, or is
I am is the event.
I am is the event.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
venue is Katowice.
Yeah. It's
We don't
fine.
say
It's
ESL,
fine.
I am.
It's fine. Yeah. It's like. True. You don't say ESL Katowice. You don't say that, but it's fine. It's fine.
We do say Gom TV Star League, or we do
True.
Or
True.
we do say Africa Global Star League, so Africa GSL, or and stuff like that. Well, technically Africa Mountain Dew GSL or Africa Hot Six GSL. We have to put the sponsor in there.
Sure. Regardless, we were curious as to who or what was going to be happening with that event now that Oliveira had retired, and we have confirmation that he is being replaced.
Indeed, and man, this is a fitting one. Who better to replace a normal man than the normal man's teammate?
There you go. His 2v2 teammate, if you will. There we go. And Cyril.
2v2 teammate, yes, they were on different. Officially, professionally, they were on.
I assume that's what you were going for, Yaku. I don't know.
Yes, that was what I was going.
It wasn't on Basilisk.
No, I knew he wasn't a Basilisk. That was
Okay.
Look, in my mind, Basilisk doesn't exist. All right,
Uh-huh.
KaiZ Gaming, Dragon Phoenix Gaming, KaiZ Dragons, Dragon KaiZ Gaming. They were dead to me the minute that they started calling themselves Weibo Gaming. The real team has always been Team Salavera.
There you go.
That's all I want.
Salavera. Let's go. So, yes, Cyril, he has since been invited instead as a replacement. Of course, the event was still going to occur regardless. We just want to find out what was going to be occurring with that. Again, it is still very sad and very, very kind of bittersweet, of course, that Oliveira is going to be stepping away. But the event will still go on, and they have at least found Cyril to step in to take his place.
Indeed, and yeah, they mentioned it here in the announcement tweet as well. He was kind of missing the last time that Bellum. The event, the Stara Zagora tournament, took place over there in Bulgaria, and I think part of that was because Cyril himself was looking to take a little bit of time off after the Esports World Cup. But yeah, I think most of us can probably agree that if Cyril was part of that tournament, there's a very, very high possibility he would have made it into the top 4 anyway, and would have qualified for the one happening this year, regardless. So yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be too upset with this replacement. And you know what? The replacement, man, you can usually count on them to win the whole damn thing.
True.
I don't usually predict Cyril to win tournaments, but I feel like if I had to choose right now, I'd bet on the replacement, man.
I thought you were going to say that they should have replaced Oliveira with Ryung.
Exactly, yeah.
It should have been the replacement himself.
I can think two things. I can think that Ryung should have been a replacement, while also believing that Cyril, as the replacement, has a high chance of winning this.
There you go. I'm going to echo those sentiments. But yeah, with that, of course, Bellum Zagora or Bellum Stara Segura 2025 is going to be
Yes.
right around the corner.
Gen's Elite Star Sakura.
There you go. There you
Cool
go. Is going to be right around the corner. And again, it's definitely something to look forward to. I know that players are practicing for it, getting ready for it. That's going to be the major event confirmed so far for the year. So there is still more StarCraft to come. And do not worry. That also leads us into, speaking of big events, Epic Land number 44 also is confirmed. Also is right around the corner at the end of February.
Yeah, so I was gonna make a joke this podcast would be like Epic Land so far the biggest EU tournament confirmed for StarCraft 2, but then Bellum Zagora, Bellum Gens Esports Stara Zagora in the year of Hearthstone, as chat is reminding me. I mean, we barring unforeseen circumstances, that's gonna happen and that's gonna be pretty big. But yo, this Epic Land, it's looking pretty stacked. I mean, 15k pound prize pool. I mean, I know the pound isn't doing so well nowadays, but still, that's pretty good for land, for what started out as a pretty small regional land.
Yeah, and I think what's most exciting about Epic Land is that the previous Epic Land, Epic number 43, for those who weren't here to see our coverage on the podcast, if you recall, was, of course, also bringing in some international kind of attention, as Geralt did fly over, and I almost said Lambo. Geralt and Rainbow as well, they did fly over to compete in the events,
Well, they
and
are
that's...
brothers. Long lost
True.
twins, so.
There you go. And one has the mustache, the other does not. But yeah, they did actually. They did fly over. They
One has the mustache and the big brain. The other has the accent and the arguing with chat.
Oh no! Oh no! But yeah,
guess which one is my favorite.
Yeah. Oh god, hold on. Where's my soundboard?
Oh,
but
no,
yeah,
somebody
so...
cut this off.
Oh no. But yeah, when it comes to the event, again, we did have some international representation, so it is possible that for this next Epic Land, we might see even more players traveling to compete. We might see the return of Geralt as well. It's possible. It's possible. Again, it was previous to that where it was only those from the UK that were competing and playing, but yeah, definitely cool to see some other players traveling over to take part.
We had the COVID editions. Where
true.
Players who weren't in the UK but did have British, I think, citizenship or residency, or I think even more lenient than that. If they were eligible for British citizenship to begin with, they were allowed to compete. Which is how we had Azure winning, representing Scotland. From Sydney, he represented Scotland. He was like, "Let's fucking go!" New South Wales, more like New South Scotland.
There you go.
Braveheart.
Azure, true, he did compete in the online event. You're not wrong. But yeah, so I'm curious to see what the signups are going to be looking like and what players do show up. Definitely keep my eye open for other European players like traveling over.
Yeah. I'm hoping that we see more Polish players, maybe inspired by Geralt. I feel like we usually see at least one Dutch player at Epic Lands. Sometimes it's Uthermal, sometimes it's Hydra. We have a little bit of a mix there. Maybe Hearthstone this time. You know, Kev, if you're feeling up for it, you know.
There you go. Maybe. So we'll see
who's Dutch play. Whose turn is it? It's what I'm trying to get at.
And really, this is our PSA to all the competitors, all the players out there that, hey, if you wanted to maybe travel to the UK...
you might not have IEM Katowice.
Yeah.
But
we got Epic
Land
to
play in.
Exactly. It's going to be epic, I'm sure. It's going to be epic. Yeah. So, yeah, do definitely check out those signups.
I mean, not ironically, Epic Land, they always put on a good show. They're always very hyped, very passionate about what they do. So, that's always great to see. Man, I will never forget, I think 2 years ago, 2023 at this point, where we had, and this is specifically for somebody who isn't in Europe, as somebody who had the pleasure of watching this, we had House Galactic Battle, the Polish LAN, end just a few hours before the finals of Epic LAN. So being able to watch both of them back to back, that was beautiful. And we had new champions of both of them as well. That was the one that Eba won.
Yeah, and I guess this is my final PSA is that Eva, he has actually messaged me and he's requesting for all European Protoss players to travel to Epic Land because he does enjoy the matchup and he wants to play against as many Protosses as he can.
Really,
Okay.
he's gearing up to rematch Shumi, isn't he?
It's true. It's true. Really, that was code for Jimmy. You should travel and you should go.
I want
Oh,
all
no.
Protoss players from Europe, not specifying any.
Uh-huh.
Just if
Uh-huh.
you're a Protoss player from Europe,
Uh-huh.
if not and not from the UK, you should
Uh-huh.
travel down. I'm not going to name any names.
Uh-huh. There you go. There you go. With that, that leads us into our big announcement, which is the Monday Night Weeklies. We were already speaking of it previously, but yes, shout out to TKL. TKL, he's a big part of the French community, and he has been able to get funds together. He was able to cooperate with other people in the scene, other members of the community to gather the funds to host this regular event. There has been a little bit of a missing slot in our schedule here because the KSRC, the Kalar Steadfast Roddy Cup, did conclude after only I think it was like a month, maybe a month and a half, kind of events. They did end their weeklies, but now we have a replacement for that.
Indeed. Glad to see it. Glad to see that we can continue the tradition of EU PvP. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. I know we just had a big discussion on that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I couldn't help
it is
myself.
going to continue. It is. Oh no. Oh no. So yes, as you mentioned, we have Monday Night Protoss that's going to be available to us here. And speaking of, we did mention it earlier, but there is going to be some incentive for Zerg participation here. There is going to be a bonus 25 USD provided here to the highest placing Zerg player in the bracket. So there is that way to try to incentivize, and it worked. Hey, typically there's only like 1 or 2 Zerg players here. There were like 5. We got Fian.
Yo!
There were only 2 in the round of 16, but you know what? It was good. You know what? That's better
More
than
than
nothing.
one.
It is more than one. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And
We'll
that's
get into-
higher than the round of 32.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So we'll be going over those results once we get into it. But regardless, big shout to TKL and the community as well for bringing this together. As we were mentioning, like we've only had like a Korean and an American Open Cup for Monday, so it's great to finally have a European one as well.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I guess we'll get more into detail about it when we do cover it. A little bit of a different format, but yeah, I'm not complaining. It's nice to have a little bit of variety there.
For sure. And we have them confirmed up until March, up until the 8th weekly. So we have end of January, all of February, and beginning of March confirmed for the time being for the Monday Night Weeklies. Whether or not that continues, I'm sure a lot of it is going to be reliant upon whether there's an update or an announcement from ESL. Otherwise, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to continue these weekly tournaments.
Yeah. Well, happy to. Definitely happy and willing to. Able to, that's a different question.
True. We'll see. With that is all of our announcements initially here. Now we can go into some of our tournaments. As up first, we have the Magic Up Masters Cup at number 114.
Indeed, we do. Kind of as we always call it, kind of the sister cup to the Master Swan Open, but of course held at a very different time. And yeah, this is like you said, an amateur cup open up until, was it 4.7k? Is that a 4.7 or 4.9k MMR?
I believe
4.9.
it is 4.9.
There we go. I knew it wasn't 4.8. It was an odd number at the second point, but yes, up to 4.9k MMR, so that just about covers all leagues up until I think the lower end of Masters 1 in most regions. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we were able to see a Beast able to take the win here. I believe we have seen Beast before. He's the Austrian Protoss player. Shout out to Dizzy Dwarf, as I believe Dizzy Dwarf is even an MSO champion, a Polish Terran player. So great to see him still continuing to compete, and plenty of other regulars that we have seen before in the past in this event.
Yeah, Xenodactylos here. We got Kai Boy.
Patches.
I remember that name. Patches, yeah. Ares apparently played. As well. I appreciate the a Finnish player who I'm not familiar with, Pete. Just Pete.
Yeah. I mean, did well for himself unironically. Actually beat Beast
Yeah.
in the first round and took a map off of Dizzy Dwarf. So did very well for himself. Didn't quite make a further run in the best of one format in the lower bracket, but regardless, some good representation there. Again, if you're out there, if you are an amateur player, if you are below the MMR of 4.9k, and if you want to compete, then this is the place to be. Again, these amateur events are designed to give you a reason to compete, to improve, and to better yourself. So we always do champion events like this, like the Magic Cup Masters Cup.
Yeah.
Also,
Endlessly grinding ladder can only go so far.
so
IMO.
for those interested, Magica Masters Cup is a bi-weekly, so it's happening every other week in case you're interested in participating.
Yeah. Not going to be this week, but there will be one next week, so we'll get to that.
There you go. That does lead us here into our next event, another fun event, and we'll see how much more regular it becomes. We have the Warcraft Evo Cup number 2. We spoke about the first edition last time. Now we have the second edition, and we do have some players that I'm very familiar with. Even a player that I haven't seen in a very long time, an Aussie player.
Icon Sices.
Yeah.
Yo, that's like you said, a name I haven't heard in a very long time. He qualified for
ANZ Champs.
ESL ANZ Champs. That's what it was.
Yeah.
He was kind of a new face back then. Obviously the underdog, and unfortunately wasn't able to get out of the group stage. But he looked like a player with a lot of potential from there. Ended up not really continuing to compete after that, and so we all kind of just assumed he retired, and I guess that still is the case. But yeah, it's glad to see that he is still involved in the scene in some capacity, and he is still playing in some of these fun events like the Warcraft WC3 Evolution Cup. There we go. I almost called it just Warcraft Evolution Cup.
Official name is actually 2025 Kung Fu Cup number 2, the Warcraft 3 Evolution. That's the full name.
There you go.
The SC Boy 2025 KFC Cup, Kung Fu Cup, Warcraft 3 Evolution Cup.
Oh yeah, hosted by Rotterdam.
A lot of cups.
But yeah, it was really great to see Akon Sices or Akon Sices. I remember. I think we asked him how to pronounce it. I think he did tell us, but I can't remember. It's one of the two.
He did say specifically it was Akon Sices or something like that, and I remember watching that and I was like, "That's dumb. I'm gonna continue calling you Akon."
I think I remember now. You just triggered my memory where it's like he said the word in his name is meant to be like concise, so it's meant to be a concise.
Yeah,
concise.
a concises.
Yeah, something like that.
And I remember because you were casting that in the studio, and I remember watching that and thinking, "No, that's dumb. I'm gonna continue calling you Akon Sices."
Yeah, like I'm gonna tell you how to pronounce your name. It's like okay. But yeah, some really interesting players here. We saw Maxed make his return. We saw Kingslayer, Young Yakov once again competing for another week, another edition. We had Xiao Se, who's usually a caster as well. So yeah, it's less of a serious, more of a fun event.
True.
Maybe not the most balanced of formats, but a fun event nonetheless.
Yeah, Salsa and F91 played, so that's the two dads of SC Boy competing in here.
Yeah. Really interesting here to see both of them compete and play. Who casted them? if they were playing, who was casting? What's going on? That's when they brought in XY, for sure.
Yeah, they brought in Sukwa, probably. Because Sukwa used to play Warcraft 3, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, I feel like a lot of them did. Because I believe Rotterdam knew Sugwa from Warcraft 3. I'm pretty sure, or a bunch of the Chinese players. But yeah, once again, a really fun event. We will eventually go through these, most likely next week. I think next week we're going to be going through these replays.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure Yaku gets involved as well, and definitely a lot to come. I don't think the colors really tell us what races they played. I think this is just the SC2 race colors,
yeah.
but
they don't really tell the full story here, so.
All I can say
definitely needs a little bit of work on the whatchamacallit, the graphics, the UI, whatever it's called, the assets. There we go, the assets for the bracket.
Yeah, and regardless, what I can say is that I'm looking forward to casting it with you, Yaku, and I'm sure your in-depth knowledge of Warcraft 3 is going to come in clutch when it comes to what the hell's going on. Have you played Warcraft 3?
You asked me this last week.
I did.
I did play the human campaign of Warcraft 3. I did not get much further than that because I did not own that copy of Warcraft 3.
Uh-huh.
So
So you-
I called Stratholme, and
Uh-huh.
then that's where I stopped.
Okay. You're like, and that's how the story ends. You just call
There we
Stratholme and then we're good. We're done.
There we go, we're good. No, I watched specifically Crank's playthrough of Reign of Chaos, and then I watched Krendor's playthrough of Frozen Throne.
Mhm.
And
So
then
you
I
have-
used to and then I used to watch WoW lore videos to go to sleep.
Okay. So you haven't played like 1v1 before?
I have not. No.
Okay.
I-
That used to be.
My exposure to 1v1 was that old Razer ad back in the day with one of their keyboards where they got Nada and Moon to talk about their APM and why it's important and so on and so forth. And then Moon was like, "Oh yeah, I feel like I can relax a bit more in Warcraft 3, unlike in Brood War. It's not such a fast game. You can, it's not like StarCraft. You can slow down a little bit." And then he's just taka 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 taka.
Yeah, my experience with Warcraft 3 is that was our like at our school we had PCs. We had like a PC lab, and I want to say that everyone passed around a USB stick with Warcraft 3 on it, and everyone would just copy it over and play Warcraft 3 together. Good times. Same with like PC cafes and PC bungs, but
DRM.
True. So yeah, I do look forward to tuning into it. And congratulations, of course, to Max Zed for coming out of retirement and for winning these events.
Yeah, I mean Warcraft. I was gonna say I was gonna conclude my knowledge of Warcraft 3 by telling you I will bring my in-depth knowledge of Warcraft 3. I will rant endlessly about how Chris Metzen just keeps writing Thrall, or just keeps writing about Thrall and no one else.
Huh.
That's it.
True. He's back, by the way. He's back.
He is back. Yeah, he is back, and I never thought I would be. I never thought I would be like, okay, he's probably better than the guy who he replaced. I never would have thought about that. I haven't kept up with Warcraft lore since probably Legion, which incidentally enough is when Metzen left, because I was like, all right, that's Sargeras gone. And I haven't kept up much after that. And then,
you don't have to. It's fine. You don't.
And then, but I've heard some opinions of it.
For sure. But that leads us into our next set of events here. We do have the Team Gosu Power Rankings, number 10.
In the more of an in-house tournament that was held here by Team Gosu, and I almost said it's the only one. I almost said it's the only thing that Gogo Joey plays in. No, that's incorrect. It's the only thing that Mio Micah plays in nowadays. And he did pretty well for himself here, coming in third place.
Yeah, it's really cool to see Mio once again because he, as you mentioned, he's basically retired, to be honest. Like Mio, he doesn't really play in anything at all anymore.
Just for some flavor and for some context for the viewers back home, I believe the last time we spoke to him of what he's been up to, he now owns a business, a terrarium business or something like that.
Yeah, he's
focusing more on that.
Yeah, he's been focusing things outside of just StarCraft. Fun fact, I think it was after the Muslim video that we watched last week. I actually was interested. I was like, how is the Muslim ranked against everyone else? So I checked out the Wikipedia for AoE 4. I was looking at recent events, and you know who I saw? Mio Micah.
Yeah,
Mio Micah's been Mio Micah's been playing in some AoE tournaments recently. So I was like, oh, that's where he's been. So yeah, he's been playing a little bit. He's been relatively successful there as well. So yeah, I mean, Mio Micah has been spreading his wings, playing other esports, playing in other events, and I mean, yeah, it's just really refreshing to see him here once again. A face that we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I remember the last time I heard of Mio Micah in AoE 4, he was playing in like a 2v2 tournament or something like that with either Gogo Joey or one of the other kind of rest of Asia or Southeast Asia players. And I remember it was like a big deal. Or he was making a big deal out of it. He was like, yo, I'm bringing in the C representation. Be proud of us, papi.
Yeah. So Mio Micah, it's great to see
We're
him
very proud.
Yeah, always with me, always near and dear to our hearts. I hear he did quite well for himself. Again, when it comes to these events, if he was in form, I would say that he's the favorite player to win the entire tournament. But of course, nowadays he's a little bit less so, spending time in other games or in other things in his life. And we actually had Zero, the Canadian Terran player, come out on top. And even then, when I think of like the hierarchy of Team Gosu, I think of Mio Micah, I think of like the established boys, right, like Rocker or Maples or Binsky, Spaghetti Boy, if you will. Zero less so. So it's cool to see him kind of rise through the old guard, if you will.
Yeah, Zero definitely a bit more of an up and comer. He has been a semi-professional for a while, but
Mhm.
I feel like lately he has been putting a lot more hours into the game, and
Mhm.
yeah, we'll see where he goes from here. This absolutely bodes well for him. It was a very close series
Mhm.
in that finals, I will say, but he was able to come out on top, and I hope this spurs him on to greater heights.
Yeah, so fun fact, Zero, he has been pretty active recently. He's been playing a lot of in like Picklestar Mondays. He's been playing like Picklestar Mondays and these open cups. And I was thinking to myself as we were going over this, I was like, when did Zero join Team Ghost? I'm like, what? I'm like, is that a recent change? I quickly checked. He didn't join Team Ghost, so he's still on Apprentice Esports, which is what I assumed. And I guess they just allowed him to play. They,
Yeah.
they're like, which is cool. It's just yeah, it just
It's
clicked in my mind that clearly they're happy to open it up a
I
little bit to
mean, it's
maybe like some
it's
fellow
the
friends.
invites. I'm
it's
pretty sure.
either that or the
it's not
team
updated.
has changed and just nobody like announced it anywhere,
yeah.
so it hasn't been updated,
Yeah.
which is
It's possible
very cool.
that's the case as well. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that Team Gosu care enough about their team to update their Wikipedia page with Zero joining, but you're not wrong. It is possible that they forgot to update. It's possible he did join. Yeah. Regardless, well played.
I mean, he's not the only one who's on Team Gosu, so
True.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
assume that they did just invite some players outside of the team for this one, but
Yeah.
maybe he did
Yeah.
join.
You're not
Who
wrong.
knows?
You know, Heaven's there as well. So, regardless, it's great to see Zero being active and, of course, doing well for himself. And yeah, took down Binsky, went all the way to the Ace match, Game 7. Crazy.
Yeah, or Game 6 technically, but the metaphorical Game 7, you know.
There you go. So GG well played. Zero does take it. I look forward to seeing more of Zero in the Pikachu Mondays and in other Open Cups. That leads us into another, in a way, regional event that did occur. I
Yes.
mean, very much so. An event that we casted over the weekend. It was over 12 hours by the way of StarCraft. It was the House Galactic Battle Champions.
Indeed, the Polish land, and obviously the results here are crazy. We'll get into that in a little bit, but before we do, I do have to say this was a very special edition of House Galactic Battle for two reasons. First of all, the cooler one, I would say, but the one that's less I don't know. The cooler one, but the one that I can't really joke about as much was all of the participants here, all 8 of them that took place in the House Galactic Battle. They weren't just participating in the competition. They weren't just playing to win. They were also participating in research for what's it called, the AWF Foundation, to kind of measure the heart rates of players. I believe they're trying to figure out. They haven't really come out with too much details about what they're researching, but it's basically about how stressful video games are.
So previously we had more tests. Like on previous lands, we had, I believe, some like blood sugar measurements, like that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Like there was a lot more like physical tests. This time they still had some physical tests, like the heart rate and so on, but they also focused. There was another group from the same team, to put it that way, testing on the mental side of things. So they had like 3 different questionnaires answering like about like some personality traits and so on. There was a short interview with Kashanas, who was like leading this whole operation, about what was there, but basically the psychological tests were more like general to like see what are the general traits of the group, and they will just move on with that and see what they can come up with for the next event.
Yeah, as you mentioned. Okay.
No, I was just gonna say I'm super interested to see what this yields. I'm sure they're also doing this for other esports as well and other tournaments. Recently, there was actually a thread on both the Dota subreddit and the StarCraft subreddit that was like, hey, there was some research that came out on what the most quote-unquote stressful game is by measuring resting heart rate. Dota's not on here. StarCraft isn't on here. What the hell? And I was like, you should have just waited a little while, man. There's literally research being done as we speak, so...
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool. Definitely, as you kind of mentioned, like it's all kind of research for a bunch of studies that they're conducting, and we have yet to really find out what those studies are. I don't think they've published anything yet. They're still kind of like gathering like data and kind of like I'm sure doing their own research. But yeah, really, it's always like just really interesting and really exciting to hear. I think in the past we've heard from like other studies. God, I can't quite recall. I remember like TLO having an interview on
Uh,
stage. Um, God, you know what I'm referring
that
to. What event was
I
it? Like,
I don't know what you're referring to, but I know that there
uh,
was another one in Home Story Cup. It was
mm,
God, what was his name? I remember being personally attacked by one of the guests who is very involved
mhm,
in the StarCraft scene, and he also has a newsletter where he writes
mhm,
about esports. But he's also like a psychological researcher
You
who
mean
mhm.
focuses on. I Kuro knows
Tridos?
who I'm talking about.
Tridos.
Tridos,
Tridos
that's
has
exactly who
has
I'm
Yeah,
a
talking
try
about.
us.
newsletter.
Yep, yep,
Tridos.
Yeah.
yep. Try us.
Tridos has his newsletter talking about esports and the psychological impact, but he's also a researcher. And he was actually talking at Homestory Cup, sharing a bit more about his research. And I remember specifically, he was like, "Yeah, so we found a very strong correlation that players who are very successful at competitive games, you know, they get their 8 hours of sleep, they use a light
Mhm,
mouse, they don't exercise just before they sleep. They make sure that it's like, you know, a couple of hours before they go to bed, like at least 3 hours before they go to bed. They don't watch scary movies. They don't do anything stressful before they sleep. Sleep is very important if you
yeah.
want to get successful at competitive games. You have to like not only get your 8 hours, but also not be stressed out before you sleep. And I'm like, so you're saying I'll never be good. I see how it is,
True,
Trinos.
true. Yes, yes. It
I
was very
mean,
much so centralized around like sleep
I would just
being well
say,
rested.
Björn would like to argue that that
True.
sentiment.
True.
But you know, whenever you do research, you have a couple of outliers, right? So
That's why I'd be on slumping right now. By the way.
sleeping too well.
Oh no! Oh no! It's been climbing those mountains too much, mate.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's been getting too much exercise. Oh.
Mhm. But yeah, it's always really exciting to hear about and really interesting to hear about these studies that are being conducted, around and surrounding like gaming and esports as well. So that was taking place here at this event, as was stated even in previous events as well. And as you mentioned, as you alluded to, this is not just your regular House Galactic battle. This is the Champions Edition, as this is kind of like
Yes.
the end of season, the end of year, the finale here,
And
where instead of your typical qualifiers, players were invited based on their performances in previous events over the course of 2024.
exactly. It's had a lot of storylines going into this, and something that was very fitting to go over those storylines is the players who participated all had drinks named after them.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That's really what it was
And
all about. Uh-huh.
I'm hardcore judging Geralt's.
Oh no, oh no. The Jack and Pepsi instead of the Jack and Coke.
Jack and Pep.
Yeah.
First off, Jack Daniels. Second off, Jack Daniels with Pepsi. Why you
Yeah.
do this to me, Poland? Why you doing
It's
that to me?
it's definitely the most egregious thing
It's
that we've ever
definitely
seen.
a choice.
Uh-huh. God damn
It's
it.
a bad choice. Yeah.
My favorite was still
choice.
no, actually I said that's the most egregious. The most egregious one was that Papi's drink was not tequila related or Latin American related in any way. His name is
True.
Papi, and
No
I'm sure they
tequila,
have
no rum.
tequila. What the hell? What are they
No
doing?
mezcal.
What are they doing? Do they know what Papi is? I don't understand.
Shaking my head.
Oh my god. So yeah. Outside of that, of course, I think games were had and they did compete.
Yep. Oh, right. That did happen. Yes.
Mhm,
It's a
mhm.
like it's kind of a blur to me. You know, it was a
Okay.
wild night.
It was.
I had a couple of Geralts in me.
Oh no, that's blasphemous. There, that's. Oh no. But yeah, there was a group stage initially here
A
with
lot
all
of
the invited
stories.
players. Yeah, just the one group stage. Best of twos, by the way, best
Round
of
robin,
twos,
yeah.
round robin format. And the players that we expected to make it through did make it here. Coming into this, there were a lot of eyes on Spirit, Alazer, Cristiano, and Geralt to advance on. But there were some upsets, and there was definitely a lot of competition to actually break through into that upper echelons of the group.
Absolutely. I guess we'll go into group stage first. I guess we'll go into the group stage first. Like you mentioned, Papi and Art are definitely two players who normally I would expect to do pretty well, but yeah, looking at the competition here, Spirit, Alazer, Cristiano, Geralt, I can't say I'm too surprised that they that if there were only 4 players that would have made it out, I'm not too surprised that they weren't the ones to do it.
Yeah, it was pretty close competition. You know, Pappy he toured Geralt. He toured Geralt in the group stage. Likewise we had Art as well, looking quite competitive as well, able to look quite strong against some of the other competitors. And because of that, like it was still quite close. Like Geralt he did barely make it out of the groups in fourth place. And because of that, historically, I had my eyes on some of the other players, right? When it comes to the previous House Galactic Battle champions, it's been Spirit, a laser, and Cristiano. Cristiano, who's also a champion. And coming into the playoffs, Geralt is the only one that doesn't have a win under his
Yep.
belt, doesn't have a big land win, or at least a Polish land win. Of course, he's an Epic Land champion, but no big Polish
True.
land win under him. So he was kind of like the dark horse coming into this. I don't think a lot of people had many expectations, and everyone involved, myself included, had their eyes on Spirit. Like, Spirit has been a dominant force in Poland for a long time, and great things are expected of him, but he did not make it to the finals.
He did not. You were just mentioning it. Spirit is a House Galactic Battle champion. He's gone back and forth with Christiana and Laser
Mhm.
multiple times in the past, but this time he actually got taken out by Spirit. I remember specifically once Geralt won Neon Violet Square, I was willing to overlook his questionable choice of alcohol and
Ah.
soft drink and said, all right, let's fucking go, Geralt, the Witcher. We're gonna go all in. And then he beat Spirit, and I was like, yes! He's absolutely going to win. I remember after that, I watched Eliza beat Christiana. I was kind of excited at the prospect of a Geralt Christiana
Mhm.
finals here. I feel like we've had that a lot in weeklies, and it would be cool to see them duke it out offline. But
Mhm.
I was pretty excited to see Eliza beat Christiana. But at the same time, I was kind of thinking in the back of my mind, well, Eliza made it to the finals, and that arguably is better for Geralt here, just because I did, in my mind, Eliza, he's a little bit out of practice. He's been focusing a lot on Stormgate. Geralt, he has been grinding week after week after week. We get a very good sense of his form, and after beating Spirit, he has so much momentum behind him. So it's not the case. Elazer, for the first time in a long time,
Mhm.
came in to reclaim his throne, winning that finals 4-2.
Yeah, for years at Laser, he was the best player in Poland. But as you mentioned, in 2024, that title was stripped away from him by players like Spirit, like Cristiano as well. And because of that, again, everyone, they had their eyes on other players coming to this tournament. Even in the group stage, I don't know if you saw, but Cristiano, he toured Laser. He toured Laser in the
Yeah.
group stage. Like Cristiano, he was looking very good as well, very informed. I think Cristiano, he went 1-1 with Spirit. He tied in the group stage with Spirit as well. Like Cristiano, I was almost favoring him to take down the Laser, but when it came to casting the games, when it came to that semifinals match, it did. I'll be honest, it did seem like Cristiano was, for whatever reason, he did seem a little bit nervous. He was making mistakes. He was making
He-
mistakes against a Laser. I don't know if the nerves got to him. I don't know if maybe he didn't have enough Geralts, and then maybe that was the problem. Maybe he needed more
He
drinks to
needed
calm him
Geralt.
down.
He needed a couple Geralts in him. Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe he had too many indies in him instead. I don't know.
Yeah.
But regardless, yeah, he did. He was playing
I-
off in the finals. It did feel like he was playing a little bit worse than in the group stage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just comparing his group stage performance here, coming in third and coming in with a positive map score that's tied with a laser at that's tied with the lasers. To come in fourth after this, that's something definitely happened in between. That, like you said, maybe we can just chalk it up to nerves. Maybe we can just chalk it up to not being inebriated enough. Side tangent, but looking at this list that Kuro has posted, !! Discord in the chat for tournament spoilers. Kuro did post that translated in that channel. I actually think Spirits is the most egregious because I have no idea what the hell that drink is. And it's
Yeah,
25 gilots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
actually, because I got that list from Kashim, who was the admin of the tournament, so shout out to Kashim. And I asked him what is Spirit's drink? Like, can he find out? He said no, he doesn't know. Nobody knows what it is.
Anybody order it? Like,
I would
just
have
to find
loved.
out.
I would have loved to have seen at the end of the
'Cause-
night numbers on how popular these drinks were. I would love to have
Yeah.
seen
There
like a
was.
count of how
There
often
was.
they were
I
bought.
did post it later on. There was top 3 released.
Yeah, there was top 3, but I want to see the numbers. I want to see the
don't think
numbers,
we
and I
had
want to
specific
see.
numbers. I will check, but I don't
Yeah,
think there were
yeah.
specific numbers.
That would have been amazing to have seen like a proper
Uh,
ranking system of these drinks.
Our stories was the most popular, which gives me some hope in Poland. That's
There was
rum,
not
lime, and Pepsi. It's pretty good.
Mm.
It's better than Jack Daniels with Pepsi, let me tell you.
It's just the Pepsi that's the problem, really. It's But yeah, from there, of course, as we were kind of alluding to, the finals was Geralt versus a Laser, and this is the furthest that Geralt has ever been. Geralt has never made it to the finals of a House Galactic battle, so regardless, it was a big win for Geralt, beating Spirit and making it to the finals. He might not have won the event, but this is kind of, I want to say, like a big breaking point for Geralt and for his career. So really well done. Did go down to a Laser, but Laser, he's very experienced, and I would definitely say that, you know, outside of Spirit being in the finals or maybe another Christiana, like a Laser, he was favored there. But Geralt, he played really well.
Yeah, he might not be the king of Poland, but he's definitely the heir.
Hair? I still thinking about his mustache. You know what it was, mate? It was the lack of facial hair, Bobby. That would have put him over the edge. Oh no, studies need to be done. I understand. But yeah, congratulations to Laser, as he is our House Galactic Battle champion for the circuit of 2024. So very well done. And what was exciting about this event as well is that there were some fun guests that actually were able to go there live, able to experience the event. Specifically, one of the big names behind Star Zagora was actually at the venue.
Oh, I was not aware of this.
Yeah. It did come out that apparently they did want to partner or work together in some way, not for this event, not for House Galactic Battle, but maybe for future events, maybe some kind of collaboration. So it was great to see that there was that kind of connection and that there was definitely interest between these two like event organizations.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, like you said, the prospect of collaborating for future, potentially bigger tournaments is always going to be exciting, but you know, even if he was just there to observe and be like, okay, this is what we need for our Bellum Zagora, I hope he took the right notes, and I hope he doesn't make a drink menu with Jack Daniels and Pepsi. But
I don't
even if he was
think
just there to take notes,
I
that would be
don't
really
think
cool.
Star Zagora has that. But
Really cool.
something they did mention is that they were interested in the medical research, so maybe that will be somewhat included in the Bellum Gens.
And that's a really good way as well, I think, of just getting eyes on your event by saying, hey, we're not just a video game tournament, we're a video game tournament that's also helping with science. That can potentially attract sponsors. Science. That's look, Basilisk always says, we're in it for the science victory. Where's the research, Basilisk?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Why aren't you taking heart rates?
Exactly.
And questionnaires?
What even is a science victory? Where's the science?
Yeah? How can you have that as your tagline and you don't have a Civ team?
True. What's going on? What's happening, huh? Civ 7. It's coming out.
Yeah, it's coming out.
It is coming out, right? Is it?
It is coming out like next
Yeah?
month.
Yeah. Science victory.
Yeah. Science victory.
I'm just saying, you know, we better be seeing like a debut stream of you know, Cyril and Rainer playing Civ 7.
Yeah.
That would actually be kind of fun.
Cyril
They could totally do that.
You should have Cyril be playing as I haven't kept up with who was confirmed as the leaders or the Civs. They're doing something really weird this time where they're making it so that you change your Civ as you progress each era, and I'm like,
oh,
humankind kind of did that, and it didn't really work out too well. So let's hope Civ 7 does it well.
There you go. Civ 7, Basilisk.
Civ 7, Basilisk. Start a team.
Okay. So congratulations to a Laser, and they did of course confirm that, you know, future House Galactic battles will be occurring as long as there's interest, as long as there's support, as long as there's people willing to be there for it, to watch it, to indulge and to enjoy StarCraft, then they will continue the House Galactic battle. And it does sound like they have a really good partnership with the venue itself, with the people at the gaming bar. So yeah, definitely look forward to future Polish lands to come.
Poland, man. What a country.
So where's it going here? Poland. What a country. What do you mean by that? What are you saying right now?
No, I appreciate the support.
Okay, yeah.
Poland, the enthusiasm that Poland currently has and has
Uh-huh.
always had
Okay,
when
yeah.
it comes to esports. A lot of
Yeah.
passion going down on
True.
there, you know.
True.
From
True.
I was gonna say from the grassroots level to the top level at the top level, but then I remembered that there was that one guy who went to IEM. I
Mhm.
think he was like the cultural minister or something at IEM, and I was like, so where's Dig Dug?
Mhm. There you go.
That was
What a
our
country.
prime minister. Do not bring that up.
Oh,
Anyway.
What a country, yeah. What a country.
What a country.
But yes, the other quick thing to wrap this up. I also find it really interesting that those working at BGE Stars Agora, if you remember, these are not the only organizers that they've spoken with as of late. If you recall, there was also a conversation, with SC Voy as well. So maybe that's a sign of things to come. Maybe they're planning to make a circuit themselves or have some kind of partnerships, some kind of collaborations. It's hard to say, but clearly there's initiative being taken here to at least speak to other organizers in StarCraft 2, which is really interesting and exciting to hear.
Am I allowed to go full Pepe Sylvia
What does that mean?
for a second?
What do you?
I have the cork board up and I have all the evidence and I have the things tied together. Here's what I have to say. Okay, Bellum Zagora and SC Boy confirmed that they were discussing something last year.
Okay.
In the photo where they made the announcement, it was one of the organizers from Bellum Zagora who was pictured with him at that table drinking tea and waiting for food to be delivered. Peinan.
Yeah.
Peinan
True.
is recently retired. And he said that there are potentially some prospects in esports that he may explore, even though he wants to just be a normal man. But you know what? What's more normal and more man than being a tournament organizer for Bulgaria, for a Bulgarian regional event?
Yeah, confirmed. Oliveira moving to Bulgaria.
Moving to Bulgaria.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And what's he gonna do? He's going to construct a list of drinks assigned to the players. Yeah, and that's how they make money. That's
gonna be his title, Drink Master.
Drink Master Oliveira. Let's go.
Actually, they just hiring him as like bartender. And like...
Yo, I'm just saying, I can picture Oliveira in a suit behind a bar. Mate, he would look suave.
With a bow tie with suspenders.
Yeah. With the shaker.
The shaker, and he has like the big block of ice, and he has a knife to like carve out.
Yeah, you've seen the videos.
You've seen the ASMR videos.
There you go.
The Japanese bartenders, you can imagine him with like his hair in like a bun, and he grows out like a little mustache.
Exactly. He whips out a massive chunk of ice and he cuts down like a little like diamond that he puts in. Oh god. There you go. That's Oliveira's future in esports. Confirmed.
There we go. Confirmed.
Beautiful. As
Anon's cooking is all I have to say.
That leads us over into another lovely country in Europe, of course. That leads us over to the Brazilian StarCraft team. StarCraft Circuit, I should say.
What a country.
What a country, Brazil. As that leads us into Amantes the StarCraft, number 35.
Indeed. I don't want to say this took over from Code for Giants, but in a way, it does feel like a bit of a... Yeah, it definitely hasn't taken over for Code of Giants because this is a much older tournament, but it does feel like it was a little bit on the back burner for a little while, but I'm glad to see that we are back for 2025.
Yeah, exactly. We are back for 2025 again. This, at least the Amantes edition of the events here for Brazilian scene is an invitational, and we do have the best of the best taking place here. We had a Nano making his return. We had Master, Eric, Inexorable, Tata Giba as well, Don Minoko, and many others. And we did have a bit of a roller coaster ride of emotions here because Eric, he's our boy. He's one of the Ducklings, one of los Patos, and he did go down to Inexorable in the upper bracket.
He did, but you know what? You said we had the best of the best competing. We had the best winning.
Mm-hmm.
And as you mentioned, he did go down to Inexorable 0-2, but in the lower bracket finals, he got his revenge, beat him 3-1, and then beat Master 4-2 to once again reclaim that throne, that kangaroo.
There you go. There
For
you go. The
Brazil.
bet. Yeah, the 4-2 in the best of 7. Big win there for Eric. Again, Eric, he has been very active when it comes to at least the regional events. He has been playing a lot. He has been even spending time in the All Things Zerg Discord, the All Things Zerg Reddit Discord, where he has been cooking up a storm with other Zerg players alike, to some success and to some failings. I know that Eba and some of the other European Zerg players have been trying to emulate Eric, and they've been learning some builds, and they've been having some mixed success. But it's been great to see that Eric's been active once again.
This is where we remind everyone that the was it the 14 pool, or what was it called, the 14
15?
the 14-15? That was the Eric build.
15,
Not the
15,
Cyril
yes.
build. It was the Eric build. 15-15.
Yeah, true. That was.
Cyril watched Eric and was inspired.
Mm-hmm. He was inspired. So Eric, he is an innovator, is a trendsetter, if you will. He does pioneer the Zerg race, more often than not. So we'll see what he's able to cook up later on. But big win here for Eric. Likewise, that leads us into code for Giants Cup, which is a bi-weekly tournament, which did also go the way of Eric. This time, though, in a much more dominant fashion. Eric not dropping a single map in the entire tournament, able to bring down the other top Terran and top Protoss in Brazil.
I was gonna ask if he was the only Zerg player, but he wasn't. There was some of the Zerg participation coming in here, but yeah, still nice to see.
For sure. So big win there for Eric. Does claim both big events in Brazil. And as a reminder, there is a Brazilian offline event that they are planning. You're still in the planning stages. I believe they're still crowdfunding, but this is another reminder that they are planning to host an event in 2025 at some point at a big LAN or a big at a venue, of course, to kind of bring everyone together in Sao Paulo, I think, if I recall correctly.
Oh.
Okay.
I know about that city from Civ.
Okay. There you go. Civ 7?
5.
5? Yeah.
I think it's also in 6, but yeah.
I put so many hours in Civ 5 and barely any in Civ 6. Like, Aye. But yeah, with that, congratulations, of course, to Eric for winning those events. That leads us into the Firegrow Cup. Speaking of regionals, of course, we hop on over from Brazil over to the CIS region. Firegrow Cup is a monthly tournament hosted and organized by Mindo VK, where the best of the best do face off from the CIS region. And we do have the qualifiers concluding. The main event is going to be over the weekend.
Indeed. And yeah, looking at the lists, it's kind of the... What was I gonna say? Looking at the qualifiers, it's the usual suspects that you would normally expect. I was wondering if this was weird, but your gasp makes me think that it not weird, I should say, but a little bit unusual. But your gasp confirms it for me, and I think I'm excited as well. I don't recall seeing Nikita here last time.
Let's go, Nikita, for the first time. Again, as you mentioned, for a lot of these events for Firegrow Cup, it's, the best of the best in CIS. But Skillus has been suspiciously absent. Maybe maybe like some scheduling issues, or maybe he just didn't know about the event in general. But Skillus has not been taking part. That will change this month. For Firegrow Cup number 6, Skillus is there, and he is going to be the big name to bring down.
Indeed. Oh, man. We had a little bit of a story going these past couple of Firegrow Cups about how it was very much between, I believe it was Wayne and Young Yakov, I believe, were the two who kind of went back and forth. Now I feel like they have to team up to face a bigger threat in Skillus.
Exactly. Alliances need to be formed, a conspiracy ensue as well. How to bring Skillus down, because he is now going to be the heavy favorite to win it all. We can obviously see some of these players contesting him and taking maps, but taking a series is going to be another thing entirely here. Now, we do have the group stages seeded. We have Skillus in Group A alongside Genie Machine, Milky Cow, Young Yakov, Replicant, and Power. Oh boy, and Skillus is again going to be favored to make it through.
Yeah, I mean, there are 3 players going to be making it through, so have that group. I like Skillus' chances there, but as you just mentioned, those are some pretty heavy hitters. You have Young Yakov, who is a Firegrow Cup champion. You have Replicant, who was kind of a dark horse the last Firegrow Cup. Like, nobody expected him to make it to the playoffs, but he did somehow. Milky Cow hasn't been as active as he used to be, but he's still definitely a very, very good Terran player, and we do know that Skillus lately has been struggling a little bit when it comes to the PvT matchup. And then, of course, GG Machine, who hasn't really had this big breakthrough, but has very much consistently performed well in these regional tournaments.
Yeah, exactly. Same with Power as well, where Power is also a regular in these events, and also has caused upsets in the past, is what I will say.
True.
So, yeah, there is definitely a little potential here, as you
Especially
mentioned,
in
coming
PvP.
into this. Yeah, some of the favorite players are going to be Skillus alongside Young Yakov and alongside Milky Cow, is what I will say. The trifecta of those three. But what I will say, if you remember, there was an upset last month with Power. If you remember, Young Yakov and Wayne, they were denied their finals rematch because Power had a crazy upset, and he defeated Young Yakov in the first round of the playoffs last month.
Yes, I was mixing up Replicant and Power again, so in my head. But yeah, a lot of upset potential here, and especially in the PvP matchup that is quite volatile. There's a universe out there. It's not likely, but I can absolutely see a universe out there where Skillus doesn't make it through. Obviously, I'm hoping he does make it through. We're big Nikita fans here on the channel, but yeah, a lot of good players in that group.
Oh yeah, a lot of very good players. Meanwhile, we have Group B as well. We have Wayne, Rostock, Strange, Nikic, Nicorrect, and Shameless. This one is going to be, I want to say, a bit harder to call, actually. I feel like the skill level of a lot of these players are far closer. Group B does feel almost like the group of death, where we could see a variety of players making it through and not making it through.
Yeah, a month ago, I would have very confidently said, all right, it's going to be Wayne, Nikic, and Nicorrect. But if I recall, in the last Fire Girl Cup, Nicorrect barely did make it through, and I believe Nikic barely made it through, or also didn't make it through.
Neither of them. Yeah, neither of them.
Neither of them made it through. Yeah. So it's a lot more up in the air. We've seen Shameless perform very well recently in a lot of these OSC events, and Strange is always a wild card. So yeah, apart from Wayne, it's hard to call who the other two favorites of this group are.
100%. As a reminder, Shameless, he's last month's runner-up. He came second only to Wayne in that finals. But as you mentioned, I can see Nicorrect beating him. I can see Nikic beating him. I can see Strange as well. Rostock, I want to say, is the dark horse. I want to say Rostock, it's going to be a little bit harder for him to make it through. But even then, like, I can see upset potential, and yeah, it's going to be very difficult to kind of determine the top three to make it out of Group B. Best of luck. That's definitely going to be the group that I'm the most interested in. It's a little bit more kind of like vague or uncertain as to who will advance on, more so than Group A.
Yeah. I agree with you on that one, yeah.
Sure. But that will kind of, again, that the playoffs are going to be taking place over the weekend, and we are going to be casting that here on the CranKy Ducklings, so do tune into that. That leads us into Legacy Weekly Japan. I feel like we haven't had one of these in quite some time. Great to see you back.
Yeah.
So a small disclaimer.
No,
I'm not sure how frequently these have been happening, but for some technical reasons, let's put it, these are not on Wikipedia, so it's kind of difficult to find information on them because they only posted on their official Twitter page, basically, and on the Japanese wiki.
In Japanese, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But we have the return of Sayak, of course. Sayak, he has had some time on, some time off. Sayak, he has been the best player in Japan for many, many years, but did step away from the game for a while, and it's great to see him back.
Yeah. Usually, I think Hamono has a claim to that title, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the rest of Japan are necessarily amenable to accepting that right now. I don't know if they want Hamono to be their representative.
I don't think anyone wants Hamono.
Is what I have to say.
I don't think anyone wants that. But
yeah, a lot of familiar faces coming in here. A couple of people who we used to cast way back in the day in OSC events, or no, I think even before we started casting OSC events, who just see them in a couple of these Open Cups. Obviously, you mentioned Sayak, Vasarvania. Is another guy I remember. Akira, I remember in some of those rest of Asia qualifiers, never quite made it through, but you could always count on them to be very, very active. That's not our Crimson, is it?
No, 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 no.
That's not ZF Crimson, or not
No,
ZF.
no, no.
Whatchamacallit? MF
That,
Crimson.
that's not Omade Ben. That's not Omade Ben. That's a
That ain't
different
Ben,
Crimson,
yeah.
if you will. But yeah, as you mentioned, players that we are very familiar with, or at least some of them are. And in the end, we did have a best of 3 went all the way to the ace match between Sayak and Vice Ravania. Great to see that occurring. In the end, Sayak to take the win, but great to see that there is competition between him and Vice Ravania as well. And a shout out to the organizers of Legacy Weekly Japan, because this is a tournament that has been going on for a very long time. As you can see here, the 440th edition.
That's more than it's more than a lot of the other cups, honestly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Ironically,
Also,
like, it's-
the next
more than
weekly
Holy
is already
Moly,
planned.
it's more than-
The brackets are already up in case anybody from Japan happens to be listening to us. And they also have a very
Honmono.
they have a very interesting system in which they have the open bracket, like with this one, and then they have the prospect tournament. And from what I understand, the prospect tournament does not allow anyone who has won a tournament in this past month or however long it is.
Oh.
Yeah, they have like a quote unquote like code ace
I'm
system
eligible.
where. Yeah. Yeah, where they have an event for kind of like the lower tier players where they can face off and they can compete amongst themselves. So they have those two editions alongside each other.
Yep. So yeah, that's gonna be a regional event for Japan. What a country!
What a country, man! What a country! Oh, anime, let's go. That's
Waifus,
oh no.
Bandos.
True. Wait, hold on. Is Haas allowed to play?
He's
banned
right
for
now.
life.
He's like does he qualify more than Honmono?
Through-
Like I
does he
don't know. Like
qualify
he's
through marriage?
yeah. Like is there? I mean, I'm pretty sure he's got plenty of waifus, so he might be eligible. He might be, unironically.
Him, friggin' who else?
Oh my god.
Cure, Creator.
Creator, true.
Beyond-
All the NV boys, the team
NV
NV
boys.
Yeah. Ooh, that's you're not wrong.
Who else? is
We should
weeb?
let him know. We should. God damn. Okay, so yeah, the weebs are going to be coming out in force. Best of luck to Sayak and for the rest of the Japanese players, as I'm sure there's going to be a sea of of
Sea
Club
of
NV
weebs
players.
swimming
Yes.
over, yeah.
There is. Oh no. Best of luck in that next event. And that leads us into our show matches. That leads us into the Super 727, a best of 7 between
try to say
Classic
that.
and Gumiho.
Super 727. Try saying that a bunch of times quickly.
I God no. But yeah, this was an interesting event here. Best of 7, of course, did go the way of Classic, actually heavily in the way of Classic here.
Yep.
Gumiho, he is our reigning Home Story Cup champion, but as of late, he has been struggling a little bit more here, and yeah, that's a big win for Classic.
Yeah, struggling quite a bit in TVP, which I personally wouldn't really expect from Gumiho here. I do feel like he's tightened up quite a bit after Home Story Cup, but like you were mentioning, looking at things like Masters Coliseum, looking at Luli Cup, and looking at qualifiers as well, something happened. I guess Protoss players kind of figured out the patch a little bit more, and yeah, lately Gumiho hasn't been doing too well in the matchup. So as much as looking at the result surprised me, I guess it's not necessarily an upset.
Yeah, it does feel like Classic is a little bit more informed currently, at least in the January era of StarCraft, of the EPT off-season. Classic has been looking quite good and does take the win in the end. Meanwhile, that leads into Super 7's number 28 as we had a ZVP. And I'm happy to see the return of Nightmare. We spoke about this last week, I think, but Nightmare, he has been less active. He has been less active coming into the holidays, coming into the end of December, into January as well. He has not been competing in as many tournaments, but it's great to see him make his return here, and he had a very close series against Rogue.
Absolutely. Man, this is what we needed after the much more one-sided show match between Classic and Gumiho, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting these two to be as close in skill, but does go the way of Rogue, but it went all the way to the ace match, went all the way to game 7. Rogue did win it in the end, but a shout out to Nightmare for actually making quite a series out of it.
Yeah,
And so GG, well played. Congratulations to
agree.
Rogue. That leads us into our final super event of the week. That is the Super StarCraft Global number 11. This is less so just a straight up best of 7 and more so a bracket with invited players. And we did have 4 players here. 2 Protoss, a Terran, and a Zerg invited to the main event.
Indeed, we did. Bjorn, Zaun, Doc, and Hero were our participants, and I gotta tell you, Light, I feel a little bit robbed of a Bjorn versus Dark versus Hero best of 7, or also a Bjorn versus Dark best of 7. That would be beautiful. But yeah, I guess it's probably looking at the result. Maybe it is a good thing that that they played against each other early rather than the best of 7, because this was a dominant showing from Hero.
Oh yeah, in both matches here. I mean, Hero, he is, I would say, the best player the best Protoss player in the world. Even not just offline, but online as well. Like Hero has been looking very good as of late.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say the best player in Korea, and honestly, right now, I don't think we can really dispute that. I think he has a very strong claim to being the best Korean player right now.
Yeah, especially with, I mean, we'll get into Massive Coliseum, but especially with Maru's lackluster performance as of late. Definitely could make that claim. But yeah, Hero's looking very good, very strong as of late. 3-0's Dark, 4-1's Bjorn. I want to give praise to Bjorn, though, because coming into a series against Zaun, honestly, I think I was favoring Zaun in that series. Zaun has been looking crazy good as of late. Yeah, it's been looking crazy good as late. I mean, we'll get into those results later on down the line. But for Bjorn to get the 3-0 there does bode well for Bjorn fans. I know we've been seeing less of Bjorn as of late. I know a lot of people have been asking for Bjorn. He has been a little bit less active here in January, but despite that, it does 3-0 down. So GG, well played.
It's climbed enough mountains, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, like, after climbing all those mountains, the muscles are sore. He has to give them some time to to reacclimate and to settle in, and now he's ready. He's ready to go, ready to game once again.
Yeah, his legs, man. He can jump. He can jump good now. He can jump. He can jump over the cliffs just like a Reaper.
Yeah, there you go.
That was his goal right from the start.
What a country.
What a country. Korea, man. What a country.
Crazy. So GG will play it. Hero does take the win here. Big win for Hero. That leads us into the Bastards Big Brain Bounce number 81. Once again, we typically have some themes here taking place. Once again, we are going to be featuring Cham.
I know what the theme is.
Oh, go for it. What's the theme?
The D-Gens. At least for the main event. It's 2 D-Gens.
True. You're not wrong. The main event was Mixu and Night Phoenix facing off in the ZVP. We were also featuring Holy Squid versus Tassad, Trigger versus Gumiho, and Cham versus Milky Cow.
Yeah, those kind of appetizers. Nice to see Tassad here. Participating in something. I know it was at the beginning of the year or towards the end of last year, where he did mention that, a lot of the uncertainty with EWC and, the fact that WTL was pulling out did mean that, one, it wasn't really financially. It didn't make a lot of sense financially for him to continue supporting, to pour so much money into the scene, and also it kind of demotivated him a little bit. But yeah, it is nice to see his name floating around once again here, even if it is in more of a amateur player capacity or fan capacity.
For sure. So great to see him here as a competitor, as you mentioned. This is also, once again, one of those Bastards Big Brain Bouts where I'm a little bit confused as to why Gumiho versus Trigger wasn't the main event. Yeah. why some of these matchups wasn't the main events than the other. But honestly, it might just have to do with time zone. It might just have to do with because Gumiho and Trigger are based in Korea, their match has to be earlier, and the main events is the later series. That literally might just be the reason.
Yeah, you have the opening acts, and then you have the main event. So I very much could come down to that. And Gumiho and Trigger, I feel like they are anti-degens. Well, I don't know about Gumiho, but we know for a fact that Trigger is the anti-degen.
He is.
We get to the main event, though, and we have Night Phoenix, who is the embodiment of the embodiment.
I know.
Well, no, that's not accurate. For as long as Honmono is still active, I think it's between those two. Who is the bigger degen between those two? But they have a pretty strong claim. And but Mixu beat him. So does that mean that Mixu is a bigger degen now?
It does. He has taken his
power.
power.
All right.
But yeah, we had Gumiho versus Trigger. They went all the today's match in a best of 5, a very close back and forth. This is what we wanted between Gumiho and Classic, by the way. We wanted, a back and forth series, for it to go the distance as well. So
We
big
also
win there
wanted
for
Protoss to win.
True. I mean, they still did win in the end.
Right.
So Trigger does win it in the end. Is this the beginning of Gumiho's villain arc? It's hard to say. Like, I don't know if I can see Gumiho being a villain.
Yeah, exactly. Gumiho,
Yeah.
he's never been that type, He's never been the
Yeah.
type to just sink into the darkness and just fully smudge. He's always been more the type to let the darkness pass him,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't kind of like, wallow in it. Nah, he just takes it all in stride here. So, regardless, big win for Trigger. Again, Gumiho taking a couple of losses, but at least he does, make a series out of this. Between himself and Trigger.
Yeah. And once again, just to reiterate that, big result for Trigger.
Oh yeah. Big
He's
win.
been doing
Big.
real good. He's been doing real good these past couple of weeks,
Yeah, he
Real
had
good
but
lately.
past couple of months, mate. Past couple of months.
Yeah,
he's been looking
he's
good.
hunting up and up,
Yeah, mate. We featured him at Duckling Showdown, 2000 Australia. I mean, mate, best player in NA. So yeah, Trigger's been looking very strong as of late. That leads us into Cham versus Milky Cow. Once again, I don't know what it is, but
Ooh.
Rotterdam has been very fond of bringing in Cham. Like Cham, he's actually played in quite a lot of these big brain bouts. Like time and time again. They keep throwing players at him, and Cham refuses to go down.
Yeah, which is what we want out of Cham, right? I remember way back in the day when we had Sacramento. The narrative was always Cham, more like champion.
Sí, papi, sí, el champion, if you will, el champion. So, Cham does bring down Milky Cow 3-1. Of course, that led us into the main event. It makes it a Night Phoenix, more one-sided series there, but great to see that they were featuring some of the more unorthodox maps, Era Home and Hellscape, which is where Night Phoenix was able to get the win in the end of a Mixu. Great to see them both competing. I want to say that Night Phoenix and Mixu are some of those players that are less active. They don't really compete as too many open cups, so I appreciate that they're able to be here and now in this show match.
Is that a Warcraft term?
What term?
Airholm. Is that from Warcraft?
I think it might just be I don't know. Maybe you've been listening to too many.
There's a lot of Holmes and Holds in Warcraft. So.
You're not wrong. Does sound very fantasy,
Holm.
yes. But yeah, with that, GG will play. That leads us into our OSC events here this week. We have the OSC Weekly number 197. We did end up casting this. And speaking of Cham and his reign of terror, Cham, he popped off like crazy here. I think it's been a while since we've seen a player go on a deep win streak like this. And Cham, he just went to town in OSC Weekly 197.
Yeah, King of the Hill. Oh boy. He beats Geralt. He beats Luncy. Then he beats Honmono. Then he beats Gigi Machine, then he beats Nickrak, then he beats Baby Marine, then he beats Vindel VK, then he beats Hatsu, then he beats Shino. Finally, on his 10th match, he falls to Shameless, but that's a 9-game win streak. Then nobody else has been able to really replicate after him from here, which I guess mathematically that would be impossible, but still. It's 15 matches, so...
Yeah, and it was after that where we had more of a back and forth where we didn't really have much of a win streak from either of the players. So big win there for Cham, able to get a nice kind of win streak, as you mentioned. Shameless did stop him, and as we were mentioning here, it went from Shameless, Percival, Night Phoenix made a feature, but Night Phoenix did go down. Yeah, Percival, he came back, I want to say in December. Not too long ago.
Yeah, I saw him streaming the other day, and I was like, oh, that's nice to see. He had some free time, I guess, so he decided to stream, but looks like he is coming back and looking to be competitive again, so who knows?
Yeah, I think when he returned, he did post, and he did say that he wasn't necessarily wanting to go like full time again and be like, and commit and devote everything to StarCraft, but he still wanted to play nonetheless.
That's exactly what Ryung said when he came back from the military and he got dragged into IEM.
True. So it's great to see Percival's return, and yeah, was able to get some wins here as well in TVP. Very aggressive games is what I will say. A lot of all-ins, actually. A lot of all-ins from Percival. Did take it in the end. Did for Young Yakov, then to Jumi, then to Jumi once again as Iba did try to come back. Did have a fun match between himself and Jumi in a PvP. Yeah,
a nice little mirror matchup. I will say Jumi should have played Zerg, but yeah, so it's a good... yeah, sounds like a fun match regardless.
Oh yeah, fun match regardless. That leads us into the OC Championship number 12, where we have been slowly progressing through the brackets. The first 2 rounds have concluded. Skillus takes down Nickrak 3-0 against Skillus, is one of the favorites to make a deep run in the tournament. Cure taking down Creator and Nightmare. We had Cristiano taking down Wayne. We had Clem taking down Shameless. Some more one-sided matches here in the second round of the upper half of the bracket. But that third round, though, mate, we got some big names facing against each other, and we have some classic matchups as well with the Polish on Polish action.
Third. Yes, okay. Geralt versus Cristiano, yes.
Yeah.
That's gonna be going down, and yeah, like you said, very dominant showings from our favorite players in the second round so far. So yeah, I don't think anybody's too surprised with that. But again, like you said, the third round's gonna be a lot more up in the air. I do favor Hero a little bit over Skillus, but I feel like, and I do favor Max Pack slightly over Cure, although I do think that there's a little bit of upset potential over there. Geralt very Cristiano though, that's very much up in the air, and every time I definitively say that Shin is gonna lose, he comes out and pulls out a massive wildcard build and gets a huge upset. So as much as I'm favoring Clem in that match, Shin has surprised me before. And then so I guess I should start giving him the benefit of the doubt there.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to bet against Clem because he is the reigning world champion. Like regardless of who it is, Clem is going to be favored. So I do think he's going to do well for himself there. But I do think that Shin can make a series out of that. So best of luck to both Shin and Clem. As you mentioned, here is a big name, Max Rex as well. But we have the bigger names facing against each other here in the third round. Bearing in mind that we have Beyond and Dark also waiting in the later rounds. So again, there's just some really, really solid matches that are coming up ahead of us here. Even though we have not really heard too much about these big offline events returning, there's still a lot of big online events that are taking place, like the OSC Championship.
And as always, every time we look at this rack in particular, we hope that the matches get underway soon, because otherwise we might not have Dark. We might not have Dark waiting in that upper bracket semi.
Exactly. So hopefully we can get to those matches, by the end of March, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how long it takes to work through this bracket, as we have seen them take their time, especially in the previous mid-season playoffs. Regardless, best of luck to all those players coming into the Overseas Season Championship. That leads us into the Weekly Open Cups. That leads us into the Hub Cup number 4. Again, this is a bi-weekly event. It has become more of a regular event, I should say, as well. And we do feature a plethora of players. This is at a little bit of a more European-friendly time.
Yeah, and as such, we had, I would say, a little bit of a foreshadowing of Liuli Cup in our finals here. Clem versus Skillus.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You're not wrong. Clan versus Skills. Hub Cup does feature a unique format in the sense it's double lim. It's a bi-weekly tournament, but it is double elimination, which is not really seen too often when it comes to the Open Cups. That does make it a little bit different from the others. And we did see a plethora of European competitors here. Clem did drop maps. He dropped the map to Skillus in the upper bracket finals and to Skillus in the grand finals as well. So Skillus, he definitely has it in him here to try to contest against Clem, but Clem is still the dominant force in the region, and there was no one that could really bring him down.
Yeah, no max hacks this time.
Yeah, no max packs, which is a little bit of a surprise to see, but I might have just been trying to adjust the sleep schedule to actually play in Leo League Cup. Would not be surprised if that was the case. Yeah. Likewise, shout out to Jumi. Jumi took down Cristiano, and Jumi, he did actually take multiple games off of Skills as well.
Yeah, took down Cristiano, took down multiple games from Skillus, as you mentioned, took down Geralt as well. He actually beat Cristiano twice in these brackets, so... Yeah, Jumi, man, he's on the up and up. I'm telling you. Ever since his divorce, he's been looking great.
I get what I was gonna say the same thing, mate. It's one of those things where when you're in a toxic relationship, you don't really know how good life can be. Once you
You
like,
never know
you
what you're
shed away.
capable of, you know?
Exactly. Jimmy, now he has unlocked his full potential. He's cast aside those weighing him down, and now he can just spread his wings and fly. And mate, at least specifically in PvP, for him to defeat Cristiano, Geralt, Cristiano again, force skills to the ace match multiple times. He was able to defeat Eba, of course, in OSC King of the Hill. Like, it's big wins here in PvP. Like, it feels like it's becoming a bit of his, maybe even a speciality for him.
Yeah. PvP sniper, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So GG will play. Congratulations to Clem, of course, for becoming our champion. Skills for second place and Jimmy for third. That leads us into something a little bit different. That leads us into the Star Serpent Spring Cup, an event that is focused on the Chinese region, but a tournament name that I have not seen before, as it looks like it is specifically more of like a Year of the Snake event.
It is, and I think it's very fitting. You know why?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Because if you look at the abbreviation, it's
I
very
like how
fitting.
that's what your
Snake.
brain immediately.
I was gonna say yes, the SSSC.
There we go. SSSC. So again, it is to commemorate the year of the snake here for Lunar New Year, or for the beginning of the year.
Oh, right. That's I forgot about that.
Yeah, it is coming up. And in the end, we did have a Cassie taking down Oriana 2-0 and becoming the champion.
That's Oriana?
Oriana in the semis.
Oh, yeah, of course. Who I clicked on Casey. Apparently, that's Kingslayer.
Oh, another name change.
Yeah.
Okay, not the first, by the way. He used to be Eternity before that, which we did cast him as Eternity, then into Kingslayer, and then a name change once again. I'm a little bit confused as to why, but sure, I guess now he's Cassie.
Yeah.
Or Casey?
Oh, named after the calculators.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure that's Cassia. Yeah, cool.
You're right. Oh, you can't see it. It doesn't show up.
Ah, there you go. There you go. Beautiful. Big fan of Kingslayer. Yeah, Casey, Casey, I guess. Yeah, does take the win here. I mean, Kingslayer now, I was gonna say like crazy upset, like name out of nowhere, but it's like, oh, it's Kingslayer. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. As always, we always appreciate the names that we see over here in the Chinese scene. Raiko was the player that he beat. He got the legendary.
Entei.
The lightning type. There should be an Entei. And then there should be a Suicune.
Yeah. And a Celebi.
Oh, but which rate? Because we already have Raiko playing Steel.
No,
playing Terran. Which I was gonna say makes sense because lightning, electric type, and Terran makes sense.
Yeah,
I guess electric type would make more sense than Protoss, but
it would.
Move past it.
Okay, it's fine.
Entei needs to play Zerg, I think.
Catch them all.
Catch them all. Actually, Suicune should be the Terran player, and then,
it should because it's blue.
And then Raiko should be the Protoss player, but
yeah, we should tell him to change his name.
Or
because
yeah.
Apparently, you can just change it. Kingslayer did, so why can't Raiko?
Yeah. Kingslayer did. Wayne did.
Mm-hmm.
People just be name changing left.
Who was also Rattata, by the way.
Yeah. Who was also Rattata? True.
He was.
I was gonna say Special did, but technically Special wasn't named after a Pokemon. It was his name was I love Altaria. It wasn't just Altaria.
There you go.
So we need more Pokemon names, and we need to get 6 of them in a team, and then we need the manager to like pose with them.
He does. Needs to catch them in his balls.
Needs to catch them all.
With that, also again, congratulations to Kingslayer. Again, more of a one-off event for those who are unaware. Kingslayer, he has been an up-and-comer in the Chinese scene for quite some time. We have cast him plenty of times, and he's an amazing player in his own right. So congratulations. That leads us into the Wardy TV Monday number 19, where we have the beginning of our plethora of weekly events. This is another example of, this wasn't placed in the Reddit thread because the Reddit thread was older, but we had literally one Zerg player in this tournament.
Shout out to Shin. I mean,
Uh-huh.
Loco covered it. Loco covered it in his video
Yeah,
because he
yeah.
made it quite a bit after that
Mhm.
thread was posted. But yeah,
Sure.
shout out to Shin. He's stepping in. He's filling Dark's shoes.
He
Dark,
is.
he's going to the military. Shin, he's going over to Dark's house every day
Yep.
to make sure that his family is taken care of.
Mhm. What? what are you talking? What does that mean? What are you talking about? There you go. There you go. Shin. Yeah. He's there for
Shin.
you.
He's always there for you. Whenever you need your shoes filled, whenever you need somebody to do your job when you can't, Shin is there.
There you go. Shin, he is there. It did go down in the quarterfinals. And we did have our
I disavow him. Yeah, never mind then.
Did have our plethora of PvPs coming in here. Of course, Hero takes down Cure. He went up against Classic in the semifinals. Did bring him down, win all the ace match, and then he went up against MaxPax, a best of 5 in the finals. MaxPax, by the way, I glossed over it, did take down Clem in the semis. Big win for MaxPax, taking down Clem and Hero in this weekly tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, not just beating him, not just beating Clem, but beating him 2-0. Yo, Gumiho took a map off of MaxPax.
Yeah. What does that mean? Trigger?
Wow.
Trigger confirmed?
Trigger. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that?
Yep. You know what's sad looking at this bracket though?
Mhm.
We could have had a Jumi champion.
We could have. We
If
could
he
have.
Yeah, I was gonna
forfeit
say,
in the
hold
first
on a
round,
moment. Hold on a
Yeah.
moment. Why is there a Jumi forfeiting day?
Yeah, exactly. We were praising Jumi's PvP and then he forfeited. Well, why? Why did he forfeit here against MaxPax? What would be the reason? Unless
Same person?
he is MaxPax.
Confirmed?
That would explain it. That would
We
explain
finally know what MaxPax looks like?
it. I would explain why
Have
MaxPax
you-
was able to take down Clem 2-0.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Jumi.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the two of them in the same room?
Think about it.
Think about it. I believe the last time I watched Jumi's stream, I saw there was a crown in the background that if you zoomed in, it said property of the King of Denmark. So
Yeah. What happened? Did he steal it or is it his?
well, it's not his yet. It's his in a couple of years
There you go. There you go.
when he succeeds. You
Exactly. So
Father.
GG well played. MaxPax does take the win over Hero. Big win is what I will say for MaxPax to bring down both Hero and to bring down Clem. That leads us into Biggest Aura Cup number 16, which did also feature the next day.
Right.
Hero was able to.
Right?
We-
What about
we-
the Monday night? Right?
I thought we were
Hold on.
just.
Stop!
Oh, did
Right?
Hold
you
on.
skip it?
Hold
I
on.
thought you just changed the order. I didn't.
That
I didn't
leads
look
us
back at the-
into Monday Night Weekly's number 1, I should
I think
say.
you just changed the order.
Oh, good. No. For some reason, I glossed over it. But that leads us into the Monday Night Weekly's number 1, which again does feature a double elimination format.
Indeed, not just a double elimination format, but also a double finals.
Mm-hmm.
The winner of the upper bracket only needs to win one series or one game. Wait.
Yeah, it's
Wait.
That was the
no.
best of 1.
I remember how it works. Okay, I remember how it works. So it's unlike
Not this
giving
format. This is
the
unique. This is
upper
unique.
bracket. This is unique.
Yeah.
But I remember this format.
Okay. Yeah. So basically,
finals.
this is I would say controversial decision, by the way. Typically, a double finals is instead of a best of 7, you'd have like 2 best of 3s, for example, right?
Yep.
And the person on the coming in from the upper half of the bracket would have a life. Right, they'd have an extra life because they never lost a series, and the person coming in from the lower bracket would not have an extra life. So the person from the upper bracket would have to just win 1 series. Here, they had a twist. It is a best of 5 match, and if the person coming in from the lower bracket wins, then instead of having another series, best of 1. They had a best of 1 decider, which is not normal, which is unique to this tournament.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of makes sense for a weekly if you want to, in the interest of time, but I feel like if you're going to do a double format like this, a double finals like this, you might as well just commit fully to it.
Yeah, it's just weird because if you look at the scoreline, Trigger, he won
Trigger.
3 games, and
He should
Trigger
have
and
been the
Clem won
champion,
twice. Yeah, like it's just really weird to see that it was a best of one. Again, maybe it was because of
Trigger
time.
has a
Maybe
higher map score than
yeah,
Clem.
he does. I personally, I think you're right on that in the sense that I think maybe they didn't expect the event to last as long as it did because of double elimination. Right, there were more games, more matches, took longer, and by the time they got to the stage where Trigger won, they're like, you know what? Maybe we'll have a best of one instead, just because it's been a 10-hour event. Like I don't, it's possible that was a factor. If not, it's kind of a weird way to decide the winner because again, having a best of one decider is crazy. Like that's not of the norm.
Yeah. We'll see how it works. I'm just gonna be sitting here a little bit bittersweet that Trigger doesn't get the championship, but he still beats Clem. He has a 3-2 versus Clem, so
yeah. So at least
this bodes well for him.
It does. I mean, hey, he beat Max Pax as well, by the way. Also something that isn't normal. Something that I should emphasize. It was lower bracket, but pure best of ones. Even the lower bracket finals. That's also crazy. What's with the best of ones here? What's going on? Why are there so many best of ones?
I guess it was getting late in Canada at the time.
Yeah, true.
Or
I mean,
late in Europe
in
at
Korea.
the time.
Yeah, there you go.
And late in Korea at the time. Trigger, you became what you swore to destroy. You were supposed to defeat the Degens.
Do you think that's why they made him lose? Is to punish him for being a teacher?
I think he made himself lose as penance.
True. So, GG well played. Clem does win in the end. You could argue that maybe Trigger was robbed that. If so, I mean, I want to praise Trigger actually because hey, even though Clem won, Trigger beat him, and I feel like a lot of people would not expect that. Bearing in mind, in this tournament, Clem 2-0'd Showtime. He 2-1 Max Packs, and they lost to Trigger. Like that's praise to Trigger here. Like that's really good result. GG.
Absolutely. We gotta write this down for a show match potentially.
Potentially. I mean, we're still at the start of the year.
Make it so that Trigger gets that $200.
We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep our
eye on it. And meanwhile, as we did mention, there's also a little bit of an incentive, a bounty, if you will, for the highest placing Zerg player. It is still to be determined right now, as currently, for this tournament, it's tied between Mixu and Fijant.
So, because there was a tie and that wasn't resolved like during the tournament, I believe it's just moved to the next event and they figure out what to do with it.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah. That bounty gets increased.
Ooh, there you go. Double it.
Watch people tie every week for like 10 weeks until the bounty gets higher than the actual first place prize, and then you see someone win it.
It could happen.
I want that to happen so bad.
Merely hours later, that was when the Pegasaur Pegasaur Cup number 16 did take place. We thought we once again had a dominant showing here at a Hero. He takes down Shameless 2-1, went to the ace match, took down Jimmy as well. Big win there for Hero, and then he had a finals between himself and Shin. I should also emphasize that Shin had a unique way into those finals because he did have a series against Dark, and Dark did off-race as Protoss. He did not embrace the ZVZ. He took notes and he did follow suit from other players off-racing as Protoss, and honestly, pretty good games.
And he got O2'd.
He did get O2'd, but mate, game 2 was crazy. Star Child. So, game 1 was more one-sided, I will say. Shin, more one-sided win in game 1. Game 2, though, was much more clutch, much more insane. Dark definitely looking quite solid in that second game against Shin. Did win. Shin did take it in the end, though, and that led into a best-of-5 ace match in the finals.
Yeah. Really cool to see, to say the least. I do remember Dark off-racing as Protoss back in the day, and it didn't turn out too well. I remember there was one stream he did where I think it was like 2018 or 2019, he was like, okay, just for fun, I'll play one game of Protoss. He misplaced his Nexus and got so frustrated that he immediately alt F forward and opened up Hearthstone. I was like, all right, chat, we're playing Hearthstone now.
There you go. There you go. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. But yeah, it's been looking quite strong with his Protoss, and we'll see if that trend continues. I mean, we did cast Dark Protoss again in another tournament that we're going to be going into. That leads us into Alima League. Alima League here for the week of 237. Clem did take part, and Clem was looking very dominant here. He was able to take down Hero, took down Rogue, went to the ace match against Rogue. And you can see it here, Dark also played Protoss against Rogue. We saw Dark playing Protoss against Rogue, went to the ace match, by the way, did go toe-to-toe with Rogue with his off race. So again, showing that Dark, his Protoss is actually, GM level, is pro level, as he can take it to a player like Rogue. So very big win for Dark. And we saw Clem actually have a back and forth in the finals. Zaun popping off, didn't win, but did go to the ace match.
Yeah, which again is why we were so surprised when we saw the results of the Super Cup. And we saw that he went down 0-3 to Beyond. We were expecting quite a bit from Zaun here, but we were expecting quite a bit from Zaun there, specifically because of his result here.
There we go. So yeah, with that, GG, well played. In the end, we do see that Clem did win it, but it was a close series between him and Zaun. So big credit to Zaun because he has been looking very good as of late. He 2-0'd Ryung, 2-1 Shin, 2-1 Geralt, and went to the ace match against Clem. Zaun, he has only been back for almost 2 months now, but he has been looking very in form.
Yeah, let's get up there quite quickly.
That he is. That leads us into the Tenacious Turtles Hustle number 26, our events here this morning.
Exactly, and I teased this earlier in the broadcast, and I'm going to say it now, and this might require a little bit of context. I want to praise Jumi a lot here. As you can see, he is the runner-up this week, but for additional context, Tenacious Turtle Tussle, this took place just about 12 hours ago. It took place this morning. You were casting it, and I remember yesterday, the announcement that this was happening came about yesterday. You pinged a couple players. All of them were European.
Yeah.
And all of them said, "Mate, it's 2 a.m. tournament. I'm not ruining my sleep schedule. Like, I appreciate that you kept us in mind, but I can't play this." Jumi looked at that and he said, "Skill issue." And he immediately signed up and came in runner-up.
Yeah, Jimmy, he looked damn good here. He was able to take down Nikish 2-1, took down Hatsu, took down Geralt 2-0 as well. Did fall to Zaun in the finals. Mate, Zaun, he is on fire right now. Zaun, he was the heavy favorite to win the entire tournament, so no shame there. But Jimmy, he had a great run to make it to those finals.
Yeah. Did he know? Yeah. I have a quote from an insider here that says, "But at what cost? Jumi lost his mind to get there."
He did. Jimmy, he was an animal.
Should we bring the best quote of the night of Jumi ate all the stasis?
Yes, he did. Mate, his series against Geralt, I want to say that Jumi, he got his entire mineral line stasis like 5 times. Like, mate, like the Oracle of Geralt just kept popping off, and he stasis so many times. Jumi, his economy was brutal, but Jumi was microing his heart out, and he still won anyway. Like he had a worse economy. He was just ignoring the oracles at certain points, but he still won anyway. And at the end of it, I was like, mate, you ate every stasis trap possible. And Jumi, he was like, I'm hungry. He's like, I ate everything, Poppy. Oh my god. And he won.
He did win, showing that, you don't need minerals, you don't need workers.
Just control, just skill.
Skill. Just win, I
think the direct quote was like it was like, I'm still hungry, I just keep eating. Like, oh god. So it was a great event. It was a fun event and a fun finals as well. In the end, Zaun did take it. Congratulations. That leads us into the Master Coliseum number 8. This, of course, was a big event. This was what everyone was been focusing on. We had the best Zerg and best Protoss players facing off against each other in PvZs and PvZs. We had Hero, Raynor, Max Pax, and Cell. You do not get better than that. And we had some crazy results coming into those final days.
Oh, yeah. No Terran players. So I will say, Spirit and Gumiho did get knocked out very, very early. And I think that was kind of where we left off in the last podcast. Was just before the was just after the first couple rounds.
Yes, it was, and that led us into the upper bracket finals. We had some really, I mean, again, you don't get better than the Protoss and Zerg players in this event. So we had Hero taking down the Raynor 3-2, was a very close match. MaxFax barely took down Serral as well. Serral falling to MaxFax. He also fell to Hero in the group stage as well. So Serral struggling in the ZVP matchup. That led us into a PvP upper bracket finals where Hero looked dominant again against MaxFax. We mentioned it. MaxFax did defeat Hero in the Woody Monday this week, but that was really him getting revenge after falling to Hero in the big event in Mass Coliseum.
Indeed. And of course, we had that classic matchup of Serral versus Raynor in that lower bracket semis going into Serral versus MaxFax. And like you said, Serral did get his revenge against MaxFax here, and then managed to get his revenge against Hero in those grand finals in a best of 9.
Oh, yeah. Best of 9 grand finals, back and forth as well. Did go all the way to game 8 in the end. Or even yeah, it went all the way to game 8, of course. I was hoping for an ace match, was hoping for it to go the distance even further, but alas, not quite. It was still very close, very clutch. This is where I would say that currently Hero did prove himself to be the best Protoss player in the world, surpassing MaxFax, looking stronger than MaxFax here in these matches. But maybe merely only for the event. I'm sure that MaxFax, he does want to redeem himself. That's why we have the OC Championships, for example. That's why we have Star of Zagora, or we have other events where these players have opportunities to prove themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. And congratulations to Serral. Serral still being the dominant force, still being the best Zerg player in the world, does win it in the end, but clearly did show that, I should say, other players did show that they can bring it to him, like MaxFax, like Hero, where they can be quite competitive in that PvZ matchup.
Yeah, everybody's struggling against Protoss these days, man.
True.
Even Serral.
Even Serral. So yeah, congratulations to Serral. And again, these very same players are going to be playing in Little League Cup later on in a couple of minutes, actually. So there's still more big events going on. Yeah, we could. So still wrapping this up. Sorry, we're going to be wrapping this up here. We can go over the Little League Cup next week. As we do have to head on over and actually cast it. And I'm sure there's more to talk about here. Next time, we shouldn't be constrained by a schedule. Next week, we should be a little bit more free, so we'll be able to actually delve a little more in depth into all these other events.
Before they reschedule the finals. And it's
True.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah, well, we're not going to get too much into this. I'm just going to say, Skills is still in this. I'm still pulling out hope for Nikita.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. We'll be catching up with Little League Cup next time. We'll be catching up with all the other events next time as well. As a quick reminder, TLMC, Team Liquid Map Contest, a couple of days away from wrapping up. Yeah, 5 days left, so make sure you submit your maps for TLMC. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for watching. We do have to head off here and now as we are about to go live with Little League Cup.
Yeah, make sure you check out the open tournament list. We're not going to be going over every tournament that's happening this week because of time constraints, but exclamation mark was it signups? Exclamation mark something in the chat, and it will bring you to the Wikipedia.
Yep. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for tuning in. Again, we apologize for cutting this short, but we do have a cast in 9 minutes time, and I have not eaten at all today. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in 9 minutes with Little League Cup.
Bye.
Ciao.
Man.